IB Nation, welcome back to another episode of the Irish Breakdown Podcast. Happy Wednesday. It is July 23rd, which means a couple of things, Brian. One, we are now 31 days away from week 0. College football is going to be on our televisions in a little over a month. And then in 39 days, Notre Dame kicks off their 2025 season against Miami. So the offseason's flying by. This is my first offseason in this position, and it's going by a lot quicker than what I thought. Brian was telling me back in February, he's like, look, man, I know it just feels like the national championship happened yesterday. You're going to blink, and we're going to be gearing up, prepping for Notre Dame versus Miami. And here we are. So we're a little bit over a month away, but it is Wednesday. You guys know what that means. It's buy, sell, hold. We're going to get into that in a little bit here, but Brian, we got some stuff to talk about beforehand, man.
I texted Trevor last night, and I was like, dude, I'm about tired of this Big Ten ACC nonsense. So we've got to talk about this a little bit. And obviously we've had Big Ten Media Day and ACC Media Days are kind of around the corner. You've got the ACC coaches, running off at the mouth. You've got Big Ten coaches and the commissioner running off at the mouth. And they're all taking shots at the SEC, which to a degree I'm like, okay, I got to defend the SEC here because some of this is nonsense. And then the other thing is like, but y'all are getting some of your own medicine thrown back at you, which is just, it's kind of hilarious. And it also is, I think, good. I want to see these leagues more at each other's throats because the more they're at each other's throats, the more they're not unified, taking the sport in a direction where those two conferences are making all these just money-only decisions. Hopefully, they can get a little bit of feistiness going and continue to not like each other. And then maybe that doesn't change because now Tony Petitti is basically trying to hold the playoff expansion hostage, which I'm not against if they have to push that back a little bit. So it's going to be interesting. This could also be a ploy between Tony Petitti and Greg Sankey since they have, had these meetings together to say, hey, look, let's do this. Let's get this little bit of thing going on for show and get people a little riled up. And in the end, we're going to use this to try to get what we want. But I do want to have some comments about some of the things that we've heard coming out of the Big Ten. And one comment that obviously came out of the SEC and just kind of push back on some of this, because to some degree, these arguments against the SEC are silly nonsense. Some of the arguments that Tony Petitti's making to try to prop up the Big Ten are silly nonsense, but it sounds very familiar to something we also heard recently. And then there's just some and then also before we move on, we won't talk about too long. What is getting into quarterbacks at these schools that just aren't that good, just popping off at the mouth. So we're going to have a little bit of talk about that, Trev, but this all kind of started last couple days. We've heard Tony Petitti going off about some things and we heard Rhett Lashley yesterday. Was it yesterday, day before, say, the SEC has had the same 6 schools win the championship since 1964. Not a single one has been different since 1964. That's top heavy to me. That's not depth. We'll address that comment. I wanted to start, however, we'll go Kurt Signetti's comments. We'll go Rhett Lashley's comments, and then we're going to dive into Tony Petitti's comments, and then we're going to get to the buy so hold. But, Trev, I wanted to start off with Kurt Signetti. Just no, Kurt. Just no.
Yeah. So Kurt Signetti on Big Ten's Media Day, I guess part 1, which is in Las Vegas for some reason. But he was asked about Indiana canceling their home-and-home series with Virginia. And he said, quote, "We figured we'd adopt an SEC scheduling philosophy. Some people don't like it. I'm more focused on those 9 conference games."
So it is wild how I have gone from defending Kurt Signetti because of the quality job he did last year. He did a heck of a job coaching last year. To, dude, you're clowning yourself and you got on the big stage and you forgot how to act. In some ways, he's almost like that scene at the beginning of Talladega Nights when Ricky Bobby wins the first, he gets in second place first time and he almost gets there and he doesn't know how to act. And he's like, I don't know what to do with my hands right now. Well, Kurt Signetti doesn't know what to do with his mouth right now. And it started on stage, and it started in South Bend, Indiana. When he got on stage and he's like, all we win is top 25 games. And it's his wins were over Liberty and teams like that. a Nebraska team, I think, that was like ranked 25th and was ranked for like a day and a half or so, just being sarcastic. And then he starts kind of, yapping that week of the Notre Dame game. And then he's yapping after the game a little bit. And he's really just kind of clowned himself a bunch, Trevor. And you just look at I'm focused on the 9 conference games. Well, so is Ohio State. And yet Ohio State is still playing Texas, Alabama, and Georgia in the next 6 seasons. And they're playing Texas, including this season. Michigan's focused on the 9 conference games. They play Oklahoma next year, and then play Texas after that. Oregon's focused on, you don't think they're focused on the 9 conference games? They play Oklahoma State and Oregon State this year, Boise State and Oklahoma State next year, 2 games against Baylor. That's not exactly a gauntlet, but it's a whole lot better than scheduling Kennesaw State. And I defended Indiana last year, getting in the playoff, and they did belong in the playoff last year relative to the 3 lost teams that they were in conversation about in the SEC. And I would even argue the 2 lost Miami team, although I'm going back on it, I'm starting to lean more and more into, I think Miami had an argument to be in at 10-2 when you look at the schedule that Indiana had. But no more, because now you're being intentional about having a soft schedule. I didn't hammer him for it in 2024 because he was a first-year coach. He didn't have a choice to put last year's schedule together. Now that you have a choice, you're backing out of a game against Virginia? It's not like he had Bama on the schedule in a couple of years. You had Notre Dame on the schedule in a couple of years, which he will in 2030, but I'll bet you $100 that there's no way he's going to be at Indiana in 2030. It's just, it comes across as you think we're all stupid. You say this really dumb thing, and his comment you read, he says, we figured we'd adopt an SEC scheduling philosophy. Oh, yeah? Interesting that you say that, Kurt, because I'm looking at some of these SEC scheduling philosophies that we got going on here, and Georgia plays Georgia Tech every year as their 9th game. We agree on that, right? Florida plays Florida State every year for their 9th game. Do we agree on that? Okay. South Carolina plays Clemson every year as basically their 9th Power 4 game because it's a guaranteed game every year against a quality P4 opponent. And yet Georgia over the next from 2025 to 2030. Now this year Georgia has no other P5s or P4s. I believe that's also part of some of the things that happened when the Oklahoma came over and all that. But 2026 they play at Louisville. In 2027 they play at Florida State, home against Louisville. In 2028 they play Florida State. In 2029 and 2030, they play Clemson. And in 2030, they play Clemson, Ohio State, and Georgia Tech. So where's that philosophy there, Kurt? You look at Florida State the next however many years, right? So they have 8 conference games. This year, they play at Florida State and home against Wisconsin. 2026, at West Virginia, home against Florida State. 27, home against West Virginia, at Ohio State. 28, they play both OSUs, home against Ohio State, at Oklahoma State. 2029, at Notre Dame, home against Oklahoma State. 2030, at Georgia Tech, home against Notre Dame. South Carolina plays Clemson every year from now until 2030. That's the schedule that we're looking at. They play beyond that. They also, every season for the next 6 years, plays Virginia Tech, Miami, North Carolina, and NC State. Now, for a team like South Carolina, that's a quality non-conference opponent on top of already having to play Clemson. And heck, even Arkansas the next couple of years plays Memphis and Notre Dame, which is a whole lot different than playing flipping Kennesaw State. Now, are there some teams in the SEC that schedule soft, their final 3 being soft? Yeah, Oklahoma's final 3 is pretty soft. They play Michigan, SMU, Houston, Nebraska the next few years. That gets you to basically a 9th conference game, essentially. They don't go beyond that. But the big dogs in that league are absolutely doing that. And so when I look at this crybaby stuff coming out of the Big Ten about the SEC only playing 8 conference games, you guys are clowning yourselves because you have 18 teams in your league, a choice that you made. And you're going off about how tough the schedule is. Back when they actually had, here's Trev, I know you're young, but before you were born, there was this thing called the Big Ten, And think about this, Trev. This is wild, okay? Brace yourself. The Big Ten had 10 teams.
Whew.
Crazy. Imagine that, right? And they actually played everybody in their league. That's where the 9 conference games comes from. Crazy, right? So you could actually look at your league and say, we played the best of the best every year. Couldn't duck anybody. Couldn't duck the Buckeyes. Couldn't duck Michigan. Couldn't duck Michigan State when they were good. Couldn't duck Wisconsin if they were good. Wasn't often back then. Wisconsin got better later after the Penn State already joined the league. Even when they went to 11 teams, you still were, for the most part, were getting just about everybody. Now there's 18 teams in the league. And so these teams are talking about, like, we've got to play Oregon, Ohio State, Michigan, Penn State, Washington, US. No, you don't. Wisconsin might have to play all those teams this year, but most of the time you don't. And when you look at Indiana's schedule the next few years, you're like, dude, you're a joke. You're an absolute joke. Like, I used to have, like, respect for you. You were always kind of an a-hole, but I could deal with you being an a-hole because it was like, look, man, you're a good football coach. You're winning. You did a great job at SMU. But now it's just like, what are you telling your football team when you're going to say, hey, look, we're not going to challenge ourselves because we have to play a couple tough conference games. We have to play Illinois, Iowa, Michigan State, Maryland, UCLA, Wisconsin, and Purdue. And, oh, shoot, we also have to play Penn State and Oregon. Okay. Isn't that like normal? Are you telling me that those SEC teams that are playing 2 non-conference P4s a year or Notre Dame don't have to play teams like that? Of course they do. And then you're going to look at your 2026 schedule and you're going to tell me 2026, they got to play Ohio State at home. They've got to play USC at home. They got to play Michigan on the road, Nebraska on the road, Washington on the road. Then they got to play Rutgers, Purdue, Northwestern, and Minnesota. So their non-conferences are against Colorado State and Western Kentucky, and then I think they're going to schedule somebody else that stinks during that period of time. Your non-conference in 2027 is UMass, Indiana State, and Kennesaw State. Your in-conference schedules: Illinois, Iowa, Michigan, Penn State, Rutgers, Michigan State, Minnesota, Purdue, and USC. I don't see Ohio State on there. I don't see Oregon on there. I don't see, like Washington on there. You're play 2 to 3 really top teams a year, and then the rest is teams that, if you're good, are beatable teams. And you're going to tell me that that's something that you should say, hey, let's go win. And then, of course, the Big Ten homer jumps in and says Indiana is on the level of Georgia. They're trying to be, though. That's the whole point. If we're going to say they're not on Georgia's level, then say, okay, cool. They're not going to make the playoffs unless they go undefeated. Because they're purposely making a softer schedule because they're not on this level, then guess what? Then enjoy your bowl game. You don't belong in the playoff. And that's the point. If you want to be with the big dogs, if you want to compete for titles, then you need to schedule like teams that are competing for titles. If you're not willing to do that, then you're admitting we're not on their level. We don't belong in the playoff. That you can't have both ways. You can't come at me and say, well, my team's in the Big Ten, so I got to defend the Big Ten and say, well, they're not on that level. Cool. We'll accept that. I accept that Indiana's not on that level. But they're trying to convince everyone that they're on that level. That's the problem.
Yeah, that's my biggest issue is they're talking like it. And that's what frustrates me. Because I'm with you, Archer. I'm with you, Brian. I don't think Indiana's on the same level as Georgia. But when you're going to talk and be on your high horse about we beat the you-know-what out of top 25 teams, and then the 2 top 25 teams you face absolutely run you out of the building, and in the Notre Dame game you coached like you were afraid to play that top 25 team, you're not going to commit. You're punting on your own side of the 50 in a playoff game. Come on, dog. But you're this, Google me. Like, come on, man. Be about it. If you're going to talk about it, then be about it.
I still love that. I Googled him.
I still love that. But what bothers me the most is when people compare conferences, a lot of people look at what's at the top, understandably so. Top of the SEC, you got Bama, Georgia, now Texas, and then at the top of the Big Ten, you have Ohio State, Oregon, Penn State, things like that. Mm-hmm. What bothers me about Curt Signetti's comments is you're not replicating what the top teams in the SEC are doing. You're replicating outside of Ohio State what the top teams in the Big Ten are doing. Go and look at what Penn State has out of conference this year. Nevada, Florida International, Villanova. Come on.
Right.
Come on.
They're supposed to be on Georgia's level, right?
Yeah.
Aren't they supposed to be on Georgia's level? I kind of thought they were. Do you know who they play next year in the Power 4 out of conference, Trev? You know what Power 4 team they play in 2026 out of conference?
Probably nobody.
Nobody. Do you know who they play in 27 and 28 out of conference? Syracuse. That's their only P4. 29 and 30, they don't have a P4 team scheduled out of conference. So they're on Georgia's level, supposedly, right? They're on Bama's level. They're on South Carolina's level, correct? Mm-hmm. So Indiana can't even be South Carolina? So you can say, well, hey, they're not Georgia. Okay, but are they South Carolina? Because I see South Carolina scheduling teams on top of already playing Clemson. So not only does South Carolina have to play their 8 games against the SEC, but they also have to then go play Clemson every year. And then they've added Virginia Tech, Miami, North Carolina, and NC State.
Mm-hmm.
You can't schedule Virginia? Really? You can't even give me Virginia. You can't even give me a Boise. You can't even give me a Memphis. You can't even give me like a good group of 5 team. You're giving me Kennesaw State, who's been a group of 5 teams for 3.5 minutes. Really? So it's kind of a joke, to be honest with you. What's funny, however, because my defense of the SEC only goes so far, these are the same arguments, however. Let's get into what Tony Petitti said. Otherwise, this is going to go for an hour and a half. Tony Petitti, who is just banging on the drum for gotta have 4 automatic bids from our league, which is ironic because his league had 4 last year. And he starts saying, he goes, 8-4 is a winning percentage. If you project that winning percentage in every other sport, I'm pretty sure they make the postseason, which I loved your comment. Notre Dame went 3-9 in 2007. If you project that to baseball. Now, you're going not 3 out of 12 games. Your point is if you go 3 for 9 in baseball, that's a career 333 hitter. You're in the NFL. Okay, cool. That's not how it works in football, especially for championships. And so he goes, and then he goes, if you're 6-3 in the Big Ten, I would argue that's a good record. If you stumble in the non-conference, I don't know why that would disqualify you from the playoff contention. When did Tony Petitti become an SEC advocate? Because that sounds a whole lot like what we were hearing about the SEC last year. So is Tony Petitti saying that Bama or South Carolina or Ole Miss should have got in over Indiana? Like, I know he's not saying that. I'm being hyperbolic to make a point. But they actually had to play and beat good teams and then struggled to win some of these other games. It's just some of the lamest loser mentality stuff. Dude, you have bad arguments. Just say, why would we not want guaranteed 4 teams when we can guarantee an X amount of payout every year? Just say it. Just be honest. Because when you I've gotten into political conversations with friends of mine who I don't agree with, and they're passionate and genuine in their beliefs. And so I can say, I don't agree with you, but you're making a strong argument that I believe is coming from your heart. And so it's a good debate. It's a good discussion. And there's a good back and forth. But when you're just trying to argue with someone and they're just trying to score points and they know they don't have a leg to stand on, but they're just trying to, win an argument. That's what Tony Petitti's doing. It's not good faith. It's not genuine. It's saying we are okay advocating for 6-3 teams to get in because that means we're going to get paid. Just admit it. Just admit it. That's what it comes down to. Just admit that we just want to guarantee X amount of dollars every year. Because that's what this is all about. And then when you fight for this, we say, okay, at least I understand where it's coming from. Don't tell me that you believe a team that goes 6-3 in a league should be in a 12-team playoff. Because he's pushing back against the 16-team playoff until he gets these guarantees. Don't tell me a 6-3 team in your league should be guaranteed a playoff berth. They should get it if they earn it. And if there was a 16-team playoff this year, and at least 1, maybe 2 SEC teams would have gotten in because they would have earned it in a 16-team playoff. Because Alabama actually beat somebody good in the regular season and wasn't pounding the table saying, hey, but we beat Nebraska, you know? And that's the thing is like, it's frustrating as heck to see this, because if he was it's the same thing that all these commissioners and presidents have a problem with. They can't see past their nose. They're so short-sighted and focused on guaranteed money that they don't understand the opportunities are there, because when you actually advocate for this, it's going to be a 4-4-2-2-1-1 model. So it's 8, 10, 12, 1-1-1-1 kind of model, or it'd be like 4 in, at larges or whatever. What you're doing is you're almost guaranteeing that you're making it way harder for yourself to get 5 in certain years and 6 in, because you're guaranteeing a second Big 12, you're guaranteeing a second ACC, you're guaranteeing a group of 5, you're guaranteeing whatever at larges, which could be, heck, you never know, could be a second Power 5 or a G5 team. It could be Notre Dame. It could be 6 SEC teams. It could be 3 ACC teams. And so what you're doing is you're making it harder for yourself because you could have a really good ACC team who doesn't qualify for the conference title game because of some, whatever tiebreaker situation. And now that team's going to get in over your 5th team, who actually probably would have been a second or third best team in the ACC, because you're guaranteeing that a second place ACC team is going to get in. It could be like a 3-loss ACC team. You know how these tiebreakers work. It could maybe lose a non-conference game, like last year with Clemson, where Clemson loses 3 regular season games, but they win the ACC title. Why? Because 2 of their games are in the non-conference were losses. Matt, and that's another example. Like, played really tough out of conference games, got them prepped and ready to go. They had to challenge themselves. They lose a 1 game in league, lose 2 non-conferences, play for the ACC title and win it over the team who you said before the game. It was a great take because I picked SMU to win that game. You picked Clemson, and your whole point was they haven't been tested. They haven't battled. They haven't been on the stage before. Well, they would have been on that stage before if they were 11-1 with games against Georgia and Clemson or South Carolina and games they played. Then yeah, they would have been a little bit more tested and on those stages, but they weren't. And that's what happened in Indiana. They come out against Notre Dame, and Notre Dame jumps all over them in the first half. They weren't ready for it. They weren't ready for that kind of opponent. Well, maybe if they'd have played a little tougher schedule, they might have been a little bit more ready for it. So it's just such a lame, weak argument to make, and it's just loser talk. And it insults. You know why I get so mad about it? It insults my intelligence. Just be honest. It's like when Alex Rodriguez said, "No, I'm going to the Texas Rangers, who were in last place. I'm leaving the Mariners, who are the best team in the American League, basically. We won over 100 games, and I'm going to the Rangers, who stink, but it's not about the money. I want to win." Just say it's about – guys, they offered me like $250 million. How do I say – you wouldn't say no to that, and I'd respect that. I'd be like, respect. I wouldn't have said no to that. Like, I would have taken that deal. Go down to Texas where there's no state income tax and make $250 million as opposed to $150. I don't know what the offer the Mariners were making. I'm just making a point. Yeah, I probably would have taken that too. Just be honest about it. And that's where I don't have a lot of respect for Tony Petitti anyway. But when he tries to make these lame arguments, like, you're really going to sit there and pound the table for why 6-3 teams need to get in? You're a joke, dude.
Well, that's what bothers me the most. And I think I don't want to get too deep here, but I think it's indicative of this new culture where everybody just gets a participation trophy. And I hate that. Like, you want your team to get into the playoffs. Here's a crazy thought. Win enough games to get into the playoffs. Stop moving the goalposts to fit. Look, if he would have thrown out 6-3, not as some arbitrary number, and actually did his research on what team went 6-3 in his conference last year, he would have known that was Iowa, who went 6-3 in the Big Ten last year. You're going to tell me that a team that lost to Michigan State by 12, Michigan State last year, and UCLA should be in the playoffs, lost to Missouri in a bowl game by 3 points, a bad Missouri team. That team should have been in the playoffs because why? In your mind, the Big Ten is tough because their Big Ten wins were Minnesota, Washington at home, Northwestern, Wisconsin, Maryland. Come on, man. Like that's what bothers me the most is it's so much of well, we participate in this league and they should be rewarded for it. It's like, be rewarded at the end of the year when you take care of business in the middle of the season. It goes back to what we talked about that one time when we were talking about the SEC and how they were complaining about, with 3 lost teams should be in. Well, maybe if you handled business against teams that you should have, you would be in the postseason.
Like, 4-8 Kentucky team, a 6-6 Vandy team, a 6-6 Oklahoma team, a 7-5 Florida team. Maybe if you'd beat just one of those teams, you would have got in. You wouldn't be sitting there crying about it.
It's ridiculous. You have, even Missouri's head coach, he brought up, I'd love the idea of a 30-team playoff. It's like, I bet you would.
Loser talk. That's loser talk. Because then it just turns into, you say, okay, I made the playoff, but nobody cares. Mm-hmm. It's like, you don't get credit. Well, we made the NCAA tournament 7 years in a row. Dude, nobody cares. 68 teams get in. Like, how far? Like, Mike Bray caught a lot of flack for this. It was like, yeah, you get in every year, but you're out in the first or second round. So, like, nobody cares. Like, you're getting to the same place that Mississippi Valley State got to. Like, nobody cares. Like, St. Mary's does that every year. Who cares? Great. You made the same round Cleveland State made it in. Like nobody cares. You're Notre Dame. You're expected to get to the Sweet 16 every year. It'll be the same thing with this stuff. And teams aren't going to start, like some of these guys, again, they have no foresight. No foresight. Well, hey, I'll have it in my contract that, if I get the playoffs, I get X amount of money. No coaches, no school, if this expanded to 16, 30 teams, whatever loser talk Eli Drinkwitz was talking about, no school's going to give you a bonus that's going to mean anything to you for making the playoff when there's 30 teams getting in. Your bonuses are going to be built around getting to the Sweet 16 or the Final Four, the Elite 8. You're not just going to get credit for getting in when it's 24, 36 or whatever teams. It's loser talk. And it's disappointing to hear so many coaches doing this. That's the worst part. Like, could you imagine if one of Curt Signetti's players, how his reaction if every time a quarterback came on campus, his expected starting quarterback for next year just badmouthed the program to try to get none of those kids to come? Why are you badmouthing a program? Why don't you want competition? Well, coach, man, listen, I just figure if I make the path as easy as possible, it'll make winning the job a lot easier. And then I'm the starter. It's the same argument you're making. We're not going to challenge ourselves. Well, coach, the games are going to be hard enough. I shouldn't have to also compete against another guy in practice. I got to focus on the games. I can't focus on a quarterback competition. So I just, badmouth the program so none of those good quarterbacks wanted to come. Could you imagine his response if a guy did that? How is that any different than what he's doing? Hey, I don't want to. Hey, look, the games are hard enough. I don't want to challenge ourselves in the non-conference. I don't want to. We're just because we just want to get to the tournament. It's all about Curt Signetti piling up wins so he can build up a good record to get whatever job is going to come next. That's what he's doing, and Indiana's allowing him to get away with it. And I get it because ADs are at some of these places they're the same thing. Hey, look, our football team's winning. Look how great of an AD I am. Give me an extension. It's all about money. And it pisses me off. And you guys want to get mad that players are now focusing on money? It's like, how's this any different? How is this any different than the scenario I just played up where a quarterback who's in line to start basically convinces every kid that visits to maybe come that this isn't the place for you. Coach is crazy. This is what's going on. This is terrible. It's so bad. Convinces kids not to come. Coach, I just need to worry about the games, man. I can't be worried about a quarterback competition. Same exact thing. And that's loser talk. And that's exactly what Curt Signetti would say to that player if that's what he was trying to do. And that's no different what he's doing. It's no different what Tony Petitti's doing. Hey, you know what? Lose 3 conference games. If you lose 3 conference games and you lose to Ohio State and Michigan and Penn State, but you also beat Oregon and USC and Washington, guess what? You're going to get in at 6-3, and you would deserve to get in at 6-3. Georgia would have probably deserved to get in with 3 losses last year. If Clemson would have beat Georgia in the opener, or if Georgia Tech would have beat Clemson at the end of the year, I still would have advocated for Georgia being in over Indiana. Because Georgia still had 5 wins better than anything Indiana did. And we said that before the season. If Georgia goes 9-3 against this schedule, as long as one of the losses is out of conference, because you had Georgia Tech and Clemson, I think you're in with that schedule. But, not Indiana. Well, they're not on Georgia's level. Exactly. That's why they don't belong in the playoffs. Only teams that are on that level should be in the playoffs. And, it's a joke. So I had to rant about that for a few minutes before we got started.
I don't blame you. Do not blame me one bit.
Oh, I wanted to say one more thing about Rhett Lashley. His comment, the SEC has had the same 6 schools win the championship since 1964. Not a single one has been different since 1964. That's top heavy to me. That's not depth. That's such a lazy comment. Such a lazy comment because that has nothing to do with depth. Nothing to do with depth. You could have great depth, but still have those big dogs at the top that are still just the best teams to win it because they don't get upset as much. That's why Alabama won all those titles, and Saban won 7 titles in his career. He only had 2 undefeated teams. His second title and his last title are the only undefeated teams he had. Because it's hard to win all your games. And, there's a year they made it where he didn't even play in the SEC title game. 2017, they won the national title, didn't even play in the SEC title game. Like, that happens. But you saying that when you're in the ACC, I just want to be like, dude, shut your pie hole. You don't have a right to comment on this. Like, you need to go sit at the little kids table right now. You're SMU. You've been in the league for 5 minutes. You got your chance to win the league last year. You didn't get it done. You need to shut your pie hole. And with all due respect, your league is not the one to be talking about that. Because I just want to point out, Florida State joined the ACC in 1992. They've been in the ACC for that's 33 years. In those 33 years, 7 teams have won a title. It's one more. 29 of those 33 ACC titles were won by 3 teams. 3 teams. Florida State won 16, Clemson won 9, Virginia Tech won 4. Nobody else won more than 1. So when you only have 3 teams that have won more than 1 conference title in the last 33 years, you should shut your pie hole about a team that only having 6. Don't get me started on national titles either, because you could say, okay, only 6 teams have won a national title from the SEC, but how many of those teams won an SEC? How many won a national championship? I believe it's all 6 of them. Correct? Bama, Georgia, LSU, Florida, Auburn, and who is the 6th team that's won an SEC title in the last since 64? It's Tennessee has won 1, Georgia's won 1, Alabama, Auburn, LSU, and who's the 6th? Let me go. Okay, Tennessee, Florida, Georgia, Bama, LSU, Auburn. Oh, that's who it is. Those 6 who have won the championship have also won a national title. Only 2 of the SEC teams have won a national title in that same stretch. Who else from the ACC has won a national title? You got it. Georgia Tech won. It's like in the last 50 years, the ACC's won what? 2.5 national titles? The teams have won a national title, right? Georgia Tech got a half of one in 1990. And then Clemson and Florida State. Wake hasn't won one. When was Pitt's last title? Like 1976? They weren't even in the ACC. When Pitt was dominant, they weren't even in the ACC. They were an independent. So when Florida State, began their dominant run, they built themselves up as an independent, then went to the ACC and dominated. So it's just, you need to shut your pie hole. Like that's where I'm at right now. Shut your pie hole, and when your league does something, then you can come talk to me.
Yeah, a league that you've been in for 5 minutes. I think that's what's even crazier. There's something about this.
Bro, you lost to a Big 12 team at home last year.
Yeah.
Shut up.
There's something about this offseason where it's like the new kids on the block, both coaches and players, have felt the need to really let people know that they've arrived. I don't know what it is. You got it with Curt Signetti at Indiana. You have it with Rhett Lashley in the ACC and SMU. And you have it with a handful of players. Diego Pavia at Vanderbilt. Talk about how, you don't answer calls from the Big Ten. Dog, you play at Vandy.
Right. You know who else is not answering your calls? Bama, Georgia, LSU. They're not answering your calls either, cuz.
It's
wild.
Get out of here
with that. Thomas Castellanos, I won at Boston College. No, you didn't. You got benched. Then they started winning.
Yeah.
Like,
That
come
was
on,
wild.
dude. Like, it's this era where people just feel this need to just run off at the mouth instead of showing class.
Wild.
You look at Kirby Smart and how Kirby Smart interacted with Marcus Freeman before the Sugar Bowl, and then you go look at how Kurt Signetti and James Franklin interacted with Marcus Freeman in their pregame things, and you're like, that's how winners act. That's how guys act who don't know what to do in this situation because they've never been here before.
Let me know it's your first time here.
Right. I don't know how to act. This may be my only time on this spotlight. Let me take advantage. It's like, come on, dude. Like, you got smacked by Penn State. Like, in your first playoff game. You need to sit this one out. You need to sit this one out and don't go chirping at the SEC. And, hey, how many SEC teams do you have on your schedule the next few years where you can back up this talk about how good your league is? Hey, what was your league's record against the SEC last year? I'm just curious how your league did against the SEC last year. Didn't your champion play the runner-up in the SEC last year in the playoffs? I think you did. What was the score of that game? How many seconds did Clemson have a lead in that game? I think it was carried the 2 round 0, I think, in that game. So y'all might want to kind of shut up and do something first, right? Like, there's only one coach in the ACC that has a right to run his mouth, and he doesn't run his mouth. And that's Dabo, not about stuff like this. So unless your name is Dabo Sweeney, everybody else needs to shut up and try to win some games. The good thing is, at least now they're talking about this and not how much they hate Notre Dame kicking their butts for the last 10 years. So,
Dabo's the one coach that I wouldn't mind if he had that mentality.
But he'd be able to get away with to say, look, I've won a couple titles. I've had to play these teams, right? I've beat some of them, lost to some of them.
Yeah.
But Dabo's like, SEC kicked my butt last year, so I'm going to probably shut my pie hole. I went 0-3 against your champion, your league's champion, went 0-3 against the SEC last year. 0-3. Sit this one out. Let the grown-ups have this battle. The Big Ten has earned the right to yap. It's dumb. It's childish. Make better arguments. But they've won the last 2 national titles. They had 2 teams in the Final Four this past year.
Yep.
They've had 2 teams in the Final Four the last 2 years if you count teams that are currently in the Big Ten.
Yep.
So it's like, okay, you can run your mouth. I would just like for you to make better arguments and not sound stupid. I know that's asking a lot for some of these guys. But the ACC wants to get in this talk now. Hey, man, go back to the kiddie table. And when Dabo tells you you're allowed to come and sit with the grown-ups, you let me know. Okay? That's my rant for today. So
love it.
You're Rhett Lashley, dude. You're at SMU. You had to bribe the league to let you in. You're not even getting any money from the league for like 5 years. Shut it. Learn how to beat a Big 12 team first. Then we can talk. So anyway, that's my rant.
Love it. Well, listen, folks, we're getting ready to hop over to the buy, sell, hold. You guys know what to do. Before we get there, hit the like button, hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell. Share this podcast with your friends and family, anybody that you know loves Notre Dame and college football as much as you do. Whatever streaming platform you listen to us on, we would greatly appreciate a 5-star review. But as always, the best way to support what we do here, you see it scrolling down there at the bottom of the screen. Subscribe to the premium message boards at boards.irishbreakdown.com. All right, Brian, it's buy, sell, hold time. And for those of you that this does happen to be your first one, this is for premium message board subscribers. You see it down there, boards.irishbreakdown.com. We get a thread going in the Champions Lounge. And basically the premise of the show is you guys will submit a question or a topic. And after some discussion, Brian and I will decide whether we buy it, we sell it, or we hold it. But we try not to hold and cop out as much as we possibly can. But sometimes there's just some stuff that we just can't buy or sell. Now, this isn't like a normal mailbag. If you just put it in the live chat, we're not going to be able to get to it because we have a lot of cards with a lot of good submissions on it, as we do every single week. But if you weren't able to get yours in time and you are a message board member, you can go ahead and throw in a super chat. And I believe our guy Drew Rainey wanted to get us kicked off today with a super chat.
Yeah, I'm actually going in and I'm going in and adding one. But Trev, I had to jump out because StreamYard's acting funky, so I couldn't hear anymore. So I can't pull that chat up, that super chat up.
Oh, I got you.
Can you just pull that up real quick?
I sure can. Super chat from Drew Rainey. Thank you, Drew. Appreciate that super chat, man. Hope you're having a good week. Buy, sell, hold. Ken McAfee, Tyler Eifert, Michael Mayer. Love Irish Breakdown. I look forward to seeing your content every day. Would not survive this summer without you. Much love and respect.
I appreciate that very much, Drew. Very, very much. Buy one, sell one, hold one. Well, the one I'm selling is easy. That's Ken McAfee because I never saw Ken McAfee play. Now, I would imagine that loose emoji's rolling over in his grave right now with those words coming out of my mouth, and I would, and like Lou would have obviously be able to speak on that because he watched him play. I never did. If you look at the other two, my buy would be Tyler Eifert. It basically is going to come down to style at that point in time. Trev is like, what type of tight end do you prefer in that setting? And for me, I like a tight end that can do a little bit. Be kind of like line up all over, be a receiver, be this, be that. And that just personally, I like Tyler Eifert. And Michael Mayer was never the blocker I think that he should have been. That would have gotten him over the hump. And I think Tyler Eifert would have been able to put up similar numbers to Michael Mayer, who had, I think owns every regular season catching record. But Michael Mayer had to be the dominant player in that offense. Like he had to be. They didn't have anybody else that could. Whereas, in his 2011, which was actually his best season, which is kind of funny because he won the Mackey Award and was an All-American in a year where I didn't think he was even as good as he was the year before because of the offense he played in. It's not that Tyler was any worse. He had to split carries with split touches with Michael Floyd. So, you had somebody kind of taking some of that away. And then obviously 2012, they were a very run heavy team, but he still had TJ Jones to contend with in 2012, Tyler Eifert to contend with in 2012, Theo Riddick out of the backfield, Sierra Wood out of the backfield, so, and you were a team that wasn't throwing the ball as much, but you can't go wrong with Eifert or Mayer. I'm simply making the case that like the numbers don't persuade me more than Eifert fits my style that I prefer more. But at the end of the day, I look at this and say, I don't know that there's a wrong answer here, but that's why I'd go with Eifert because I could put him in the boundary and do some more things with him than maybe I could with Michael Mayer, who just would bully people. But I think I could use Eifert in more of a, like, almost like at times like a traditional wide receiver the way he played. And I just like that style. And I like the idea of maybe doing 12 personnel where I've got some unique matchups where I can put a second tight end and let him do the blocking. And then you put your 4-3 personnel in the field. And then I'm going to say, okay, which one of your safeties or linebackers do you think can run with that 6'6" monster? That's kind of how I look at it, why I would go with those two. Why I would go with him. He's my buy. Michael Mayer's my hold. Ken McAfee's my sell, as I said, because I've never seen him play, so I have no frame of reference. But I'd be willing to bet you some folks who watched those teams play would probably want to pound the table a little bit for Ken McAfee. I've always said this. I've been consistent. I can't rank a guy or all-time great for a guy that I never saw play.
Yep, I'm with you. You and I see that the same. I do have a question though. If it was differently worded, which Drew, this is a great question, but this is just something I was thinking about as you were answering. If it was fit for this team, would that change your answer for who you're buying and who you're holding?
Not really.
Okay.
No, not really. Just because I still think that would fit here. But my answer is also, I don't care. My answer is still like any of the above. It's just if I had to pick one of these greats, which one? Who do you want? Will Fuller, Michael Floyd, or Golden Tate? Yes, please. Like
yes.
I don't. On this team, I'd probably go Will Fuller. On last year's team, I would have gone Michael Floyd. It just depends on what your needs are.
Yeah.
And my personal opinion is, Eifert's a better fit for me. But if you're like, you can't have Eifert, if we're doing a tight end draft and we throw dice and you win, and you get to pick first and you take Tyler Eifert, I'm not going to be like, man, this sucks. I got to take Michael Mayer. I'm like, all right, cool. Give me Mayer. Let's ball. You better hope that I don't get the first pick at receiver, because if I got to put Michael Mayer and Michael Floyd on the field together, you're toast. You know what I mean? Like, good luck winning a jump ball. So anyway, it's a win-win. It really is.
Yeah.
Which is, yeah.
Good spot to be in.
How about you, Trev? Like, if you're talking about for this team,
for this team, My train of thought was kind of Michael Mayer because he did his best work attached to the line, and Eli Raridan is somebody that you could use more like a Tyler Eifert. Like you can flex him out, you can run short little quick game to him, and Michael Mayer can kind of hurt you vertically up the seam, bigger body. So that's kind of what my train of thought was. But then I also started thinking about, if you also had Tyler Eifert on this team with Eli Raridan,
you're going to be fine. Yeah, you're going to be fine.
Yeah. So, yeah.
Yeah, it's a win-win.
Mm-hmm.
It really is a win-win. Great question, Drew. I appreciate that. And then you want to take that one down, and then I'll get
yes, sir.
The next one set up. Obviously, Salty Virginia Peanuts gets the first crack at this. So let's get rocking and rolling.
The 2026 postseason college football playoffs national championship game will feature a Big Ten team and a non-SEC team.
So, my personal championship game that I have predicted is not that. I do not have a Big Ten team in my championship game.
I'm with you. I'm selling this one as well. My prediction also does not have a Big Ten team.
Now, you know who my team is, Trev. You're going to have to text me while I'm answering this next buy so hold and tell me who you currently have in the championship game. So that'll be very interesting.
Yep, I will. D-Troll Hunter with a buy sell hold. You would trade the more steady kicking game and conservative play calling return game of the Brian Polian era for the less steady kicking game but greater special teams creativity of the Marty Biaggi era.
Sell, because I don't think the less steady kicking game has anything to do with Marty Biaggi. If Justin Yoon was Marty Biaggi's kicker, guess what? They would be steady and like last year was an anomaly. Your starting kicker got hurt. Starting kickers don't get hurt very often, and that created some issues. So I think it was a bit of an anomaly. And then the year before, it's like the kid you had the year before that's just who he was. You knew that was what he was when he got here. Now I would say, hey, maybe you need to rethink your strategy. And I don't like the idea of recruiting until Eric Schmidt came along, and I don't know whose decision it was to really go after him. I assume it's Marty Biaggi's, but I don't know. I'm just assuming that. I've never been told that. But until the Eric Schmidt thing came along, they were just going to be content going with a portal kid every year, which I think is a terrible strategy. Be okay. It's like quarterback. Be okay going to the portal if you need to. But you run the risk every year of what if the portal options aren't good this year? I'd rather have a guy that's developed in my culture, and I know that I've been able to build that mental toughness and get to know that kid a lot more. Because you could look at Mitch Jeter's numbers and all that stuff and say, okay, yeah, he was 90+% or whatever, but you didn't really know what kind of mental toughness he was going to have because he'd never played on a stage quite like this. Now, fortunately, Mitch Jeter was a guy with some mental toughness. So when he was healthy, he was clutch against A&M. He was clutch against Penn State. He was clutch in the postseasons. But you were taking a bit of a gamble. You have a better chance of knowing that when you recruit a kid for 6 months and get to know him, whereas in the portal, you're recruiting a kid for a couple weeks, and it's just a little harder to do that. Now, you do have more of okay, I've seen film. I watched this kid kick a 53-yard game winner at Alabama. I'm just making that didn't happen with Mitch Jeter. I'm just making an example. I think that qualifies as having the clutch gene. You know what I mean? So, but I would prefer always to go to high school route. And then there's some continuity. I think relying on the portal every year is a mistake. That's why I was really glad to see them go with Eric Schmidt. Now, if Eric Schmidt doesn't pan out, you can go to the portal. And then you're fine. But I would still rather have the big play stuff. The ultimate for me would be 2022, with all due respect. It'd still give me the year where you block 7 punts in 2022. I'd still rather have that.
Yeah. Yep.
But asking for anything of Brian Polian related to be back at Notre Dame is also something I'm never going to buy. Ever. Yeah. Ever. You were going to say something, Trev?
No, I was just going to ask. Blake Groupie was the place kicker in 22, wasn't he?
Correct.
Okay.
He was also a little bit inconsistent.
Yeah.
But yeah. D-Troll said he left Mason out on purpose, which is smart because that would have been an easier deal.
Another one from D-Troll Hunter. Having to watch one of these sports on TV, tennis, golf, or soccer?
I would much rather watch tennis. So I'm buying tennis. I'm holding on soccer, and I'm selling golf. I just can't watch golf on TV. I can't. And I'm not knocking people to do. Just for me, it's just boring.
No, I get it.
Because you're also going back and forth from, like, here's the thing with tennis and soccer. This is just how my brain works. I just want to see two competitors going at each other. But like, I remember, like, I watched Tiger's first Masters. That was cool because it was basically just Tiger on that last day. Because he was so far ahead, it was just like they were just watching Tiger. So you could kind of follow it along. There's been a couple times where the primary coverage on the last day is just like the two guys in contention. But like, you're showing this guy on 15. We're going to go over to Trevor Trowbridge, who's on 13 at +2 and 8, strokes off the. Well, okay, why am I watching this guy tee off? It's hard to follow. Whereas at least with soccer, it's like you versus you for the whole time, the whole boring time. It's you versus you. And tennis, the same thing. I actually loved watching tennis when I was a kid because I grew up in the Andre Agassi, Pete Sampras rivalry era. I used to love watching tennis back then. But women's tennis was also something I could watch back then too, because I love the rivalries you had and stuff like that. I mean, you had Chris Everett versus Martina Navratilova, and then Monica Seles comes along, and then I stopped watching a little bit before the Venus and Serena came along. But like, I'm not gonna lie, there's been some times that I'm like, oh, there's a Wimbledon's on and Serena's in the finals. Like, okay, let me pop this on. Go USA. And so like I watch tennis. I actually enjoy, because that's an incredibly you've got to be pretty athletic and pretty skilled, in my opinion, to play tennis.
Yeah.
You have to be athletic and skilled to play soccer as well, but it's just there's more action in tennis. Especially like, and now I'm not watching round 1 of Wimbledon, but I'm watching the semis and the championship for sure. The one thing in tennis I can't watch though is doubles. I can't do it.
I get that. I'm going to buy tennis, hold golf, sell soccer. I'm completely with you on golf, and until I started playing, I thought it was the most boring thing ever to watch. Now when I watch it, it's more of like an appreciation. Golf is the one sport that I watch that I don't get like revved up like I would in tennis or football or basketball. I'm like, oh shoot, this is about to happen. So-and-so's got to do this. It's just more from like an appreciation standpoint of like, I can't believe he was just able to do that. I grew up in the tennis era. My parents loved watching tennis. And I grew up in the era of like Rafael Nadal, Roger Federer, like Andy Roddick caught the tail end of him. Novak Djokovic, I grew up during like his rise. So that was a lot of fun. Soccer, this may be unpopular, but I just think it's boring. Yeah. I don't get the rise out of watching soccer. It doesn't do it for me.
I think it's one of those things where if you grew up on it, you'd understand it a lot more. And that's why I played soccer as a kid, but it was because my parents wouldn't let me play football. I never like enjoyed it. I enjoyed playing goalie, but back then you're also, it was magnet ball. It's like all the kids are going where the ball goes.
Yeah.
But no, if I could play, when I was younger, if I could have played any, I would have played soccer. I would have played soccer though, because I was a pretty good goalie in a couple of years that I played. Like, I would have actually probably enjoyed playing soccer more. I've tried playing tennis a couple times, and when I was an athlete, like not now, but like when I was an athlete, and I couldn't do it. I couldn't. It just same with golf. I'm not good at golf. I enjoy golfing. I just don't golf much because I'm terrible at it, and everybody I've ever golfed with takes it way too serious. And it's just like, dude, I'm just out here trying to have a good time. Like, you're getting mad at yourself throwing clubs, and I'm like, you're just not that good of a golfer, man, to be getting that upset about it. But yeah, that's why I prefer. And if I do golf, I'd rather just do 9. You get to the second, I'm like, dude, I don't even want to leave the clubhouse after 9. I'm so bored.
One of my best friends, he's adamant golf should only be 14 holes. He's like,
that's a great yes. I'm with him on that. On that. Yeah.
Well, Detroit had a follow-up. What about all 3, but in person instead of on TV?
It'd still be the same for me. Now, what would make golf more entertaining in person for me is I would I would hold golf if I could guarantee that I'm watching 1 versus 2 on the final day. So, like, if I'm watching, I don't even know, like, what's that? Scotty
Scheffler.
Scheffler, right? Who's the next best? Does he have a rival?
No, not really. I mean, Rory McIlroy's always in the.
Okay.
He always makes the final cut.
So if it was like if I could ever get like at the Masters and it's the last day and I'm watching Scott Scheffler and Rory McIlroy, they're both ahead of the field and they're going at it, and I could go from hole to hole, that'd be fun. That'd be entertaining. But I'd rather do that than watch soccer. But even then, it's like, but it's not by a lot. Tennis by far is the sport I'd rather watch. I actually enjoy tennis. Is one of my favorite sports to watch. And I don't watch it as much now because I don't know anybody that's in tennis right now. I couldn't name you a single professional tennis player right now. But when I was a kid and I knew them, I enjoyed it because I knew, like Ann was talking about, I knew the rivalries and I knew the personalities and you knew that, what was it? Samson wasn't good on, was it clay? Like there was one that he wasn't good on and Agassi was really good on. And you knew all those things I don't remember what it is now, but I think it was like Agassi was good on clay, or maybe it was Samson was good on clay. And like, that's the other cool thing about like the Grand Slams is they're played on different surfaces, which plays very differently, And so like, I think the U.S. Open is on a hard court, and I think it's Wimbledon's on grass. But isn't the French Open the one that's on clay?
I think French is on clay, and then I think the Australian Open is also hard court.
It's also hard court, yeah. So Agassi was good. Agassi won 4 of his Grand Slams were Australian, and then he had 2 in the U.S. Open. So like 6 of his 8 Grand Slams were on hard surfaces, and then Sampras. Let me see here. Where's Pete Sampras? Let me get to here. Let's go here. Pete Sampras. All right. So Sampras, on the other hand, had 3, 4, 7 Wimbledon championships. And so he was obviously good on grass. He only won 1 French Open, huh? Interesting. But yeah, he only won 2 Australians, but he won 5 US Opens. But like you knew the rivalry. They were so different. Agassi was flamboyant and in commercials, and when he was younger had the hair. He actually wasn't as good of a tennis player when he had the long hair. He got better when he got older and shaved it all off and got more serious about the sport. But like you appreciated those. I'm just waiting until Andre Agassi and Steffi Graf's kids grow up, because you got to think they're going to be pretty good at tennis.
Yeah.
I got to think that. You know what I mean? Like,
once those genetics kick in, they're going to be pretty nasty.
That, so, but yeah, man, I just, yeah.
In person, I would probably go golf, tennis, soccer buy, hold, sell. But I don't sell soccer with a lot of conviction in person, because I just like the atmosphere of it. Yeah, like I think it's electric when you're there in person and watch the crowd go crazy. Golf in person is kind of like, when we talk about the stadiums that we want to visit in college football, that's how I am with golf. Like I would love to go down to Augusta National and see the Masters down there. I'd love to go out to the Waste Management out in Phoenix and see what that's about. Go watch a Ryder Cup in person, like USA versus the UK. Like that's cool. So that's probably be my buy for golf.
I will say this though. I would love to watch a big European soccer match if you could promise that I would get trampled afterwards.
Yeah.
Like let me sit up in the owner's suite or something like that. You know what I mean? But like that would be pretty cool, because I've heard those environments are crazy loud and wild.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Yep. Good stuff. Good question.
Super chat from Notre Dame Wine and Cheese. Thank you for the super chat. Buy, sell, hold. Notre Dame will have 8+ games of 40+ points. For reference, they had 6 in 2024.
And then how many did they have in 2023? I think they had a lot in 2023. So in 2023, they had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 in 2023. Wow. But a lot of that was because of the schedule. My thing on that is I'm gonna sell that, but I think it could be close. But I look at like Miami, A&M, Arkansas, Boise, and just those four right there, NC State, those are going to be tough teams to hang 40-plus on. Like, and you'd have to hang 40-plus on at least two of them, assuming you get 40 against everybody else you play. Purdue,
USC,
Arkansas, NC State, USC, BC, Navy, Syracuse, Stanford. That's going to be tough. Is it doable, Indy Wine and Cheese? Absolutely doable, but it's tough for me to predict it and say buy. So I'm going to sell that, but I don't sell it with great conviction. Does that track?
Yeah.
I just think the defensive schedule is not as hard as last year's. I think last year's schedule had better defenses on it than this year's does. We've talked about that before, but I also don't know that it's going to result in more than 8 40-point games. If you were to say it, the over-under at 8.5, I would take the under, and I'd say they could get to 8, but I'd have trouble getting to 9.
Yeah.
It's possible, though. And I think 8's actually the good number, because if he would have gone to 7+, I'd have been like, yeah, I think that's like that I feel good about. I definitely think they'll match last year. I definitely think match last year.
Yeah, I definitely think they will match last year. And then you have to think about, Notre Dame could kind of lay the smackdown on some teams relative to the competition, but they don't reach 40 points.
Yeah.
And
that's because that's where I'm at with this offense. I just don't think we're going to see, 61 week and 17 the next. I think it's going to be a lot of 35s and 38s and 31s and 34s in those other games. And then you drop some 50s on some teams. And that's how they're going to be around 40 for the season. There's not as many 20s and 21s. And that's what killed this team in 2021 is, you had 9 games with 40 points or more.
Mm-hmm.
But in your losses, you scored 14, you scored 23, and then that 20, it was 23 against Clemson, right? Wasn't it 31, 23
against Clemson?
And then one of those touchdowns was set up by a Xavier Watts interception that he ran back to like the 2.
Mm-hmm.
And then even in your win over Duke, you only had 21.
Yep. Then in Louisville, for a long time, it was 31-13 until Mitch Evans caught a touchdown.
Yeah, a garbage touchdown
minutes.
to get to 20. Yeah. Exactly. That I don't care as much about.
No.
But if you hang 31 on Texas A&M and Miami each game, that's a heck of a game against those defenses.
Oh, yeah. Especially when you compare it to last season. Notre Dame didn't break the 30-point margin in all of the postseason, and they didn't break 30 points against Texas A&M, and they did it against Louisville. And that was kind of like the upper echelon.
They were aided by having a drive that went one play for 4 yards.
Yeah.
After the block punt or the muffed punt.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. But I do think this offense is going to be better than last year's offense.
Agreed. Another one from D-Troll Hunter, the Illinois College Football Playoff sleeper hype. We buying, selling, or holding that?
I'm buying that. I am. Am I predicting Illinois in the playoffs? No, they're not on my prediction list. But they've got a lot of ingredients that I think are necessary to being a potential sleeper team. They've got a veteran quarterback. They've got continuity at the coaching staff. They've got 5 returning starting offensive linemen, plus a good chunk of defensive impact players coming back, and they've recruited well. And their schedule, while challenging, meaning they don't have to go necessarily 11-1 or 12-0 to get in, is enough to where they can go 10-2, 11-1 and get in. So, I don't know. Some people might disagree with that, but I think there's a world in which Illinois goes 10-2 and deserves a spot in the playoff. Because I look at their schedule this year, Trev. Let's pull it up here real quick. So their schedule is they play Western Illinois at Duke, home against Western Michigan, at Indiana, home against USC, at Purdue, home against Ohio State, at Washington, home against Rutgers, home against Maryland, at Wisconsin, home against Northwestern. So let's say they they lose to Ohio State. Okay. Let's say they lose to Indiana on the 20th. I don't even want to give them that. Screw that. They lose at Washington on the 25th. Okay, because I don't want to get I went from what a cool story Indiana was to I hope they get their faces pounded in every time they play, and it's all because of their coach. Because there's a lot of about their players that I like, but anyway. But you'd still have a win at Duke, who I think will be a bowl team. You'll have a win at Indiana. You'll have beaten USC. You'll have beaten Wisconsin. You'll have a resume as long as you're competitive in those two losses to say, hey, we have a shot to get into the playoff. Am I taking that 10-2 Illinois team over a 9-3 South Carolina from last year? No. Am I taking that 10-2 Illinois team over Alabama and Ole Miss? Yes. Because of the bad losses. And there will be good wins on that Illinois resume. But I don't have them in the playoff. But here's the other side. If they are certainly capable of going 11-1 against that schedule. If they beat Indiana and Duke early in September on the road, that's a very manageable schedule. You've got to beat USC at home, which won't be easy. At Purdue should be a win. Rutgers at home should be a win. Maryland home should be a win. Northwestern home should be a win. At Wisconsin will be a tough game. It's going to come down to that October 25th game at Washington. That's going to determine whether or not this team is going to have a shot to go into November with a legitimate shot to make the college football playoff. Do I think they'll get in? No. Do I think they have a legitimate shot? Do I think people are overhyping them to say they're a sleeper team? No. No, I don't think that's overhyping them. So I buy that.
Yeah, we see that the same. The weird thing about Illinois' schedule is when I look at it, there's a lot of games on here that could go either way. You know, I mean, you got at Indiana, USC, Ohio State. At Washington's going to be interesting. They didn't lose a home game last year. And so I'm going to be interested to see with their kind of more matured roster this season, does that continue to carry over?
I like Washington even more this year than I liked them last year.
Yep, me too. And so that's what's interesting. I could see Illinois going 10-2. Like you saying that, it's not like a really. I'm with that. But then I could also see them going like 7-5 or 8-4. Like that's the margin for. But I do buy that they are a sleeper team because the scenarios that you played out are not beyond the realm of possibility. It's not like, if they can hold serve at home against Penn State and Oregon, they find a way to be competitive against Ohio State. And
on the road and Michigan on the road and Michigan State. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So
they don't play Oregon. Like to your point, they don't play Oregon. They don't play Penn State. They don't play Michigan State. They don't play Michigan. They get Washington on the road, which is you could argue that playing at Washington is one of the 4 toughest games in the league. Is Washington one of the 4 best teams? Not saying that. I'm saying playing at Washington has shown to be, and this was also true the last couple of years under Kalen DeBoer. I don't think Kalen DeBoer lost a game at home, did he?
No, I don't think so.
I'm going to go look here real quick, but I didn't think that he did because he only lost 3 games, period, and one of them was in the postseason to Michigan. But 2023, Washington's only loss was in the national title game. And then in 2022, they lost at UCLA and at Arizona State.
There we go.
So Washington has not lost a home game since they lost to Washington State at the end of the 2021 season.
Wow.
Yeah. Yep.
Wow.
Every game they lost last year was on the road. They lost every single game last season that they played away from home, including a neutral site game in Seattle against Washington State. But they won every home game. They went 6-0 at home. So they're 6-0 set, so 13-0. They've won 20 straight home games. Yeah, that's a tough game. You win at Washington, that's a heck of a resume builder.
Yep.
So, yeah.
Buy, so hold from Detroit Hunter. There will be only one undefeated team at the start of the playoffs.
Gosh, I'm really torn on this one. Part of me wants to say that there won't be an undefeated team again this year, like I said last year, but I think that there will be more than one. I actually am going the opposite direction. Last year, I said 0, and Oregon was an upset win, was an upset of Boise State and an upset of Wisconsin or Ohio State pulling off one late away from being like my prediction coming true. But there ended up being one. This year, I think there's more than one. I just think there's a couple reasons why. I think there's some teams at the top that are better than last year. Like, I think Notre Dame's capable of going undefeated. They were a home loss to Northern Illinois away from it last year. But that also shows how hard it is to go undefeated, because you look at all the teams that Notre Dame played, how many simulations would you have had to run before you got to Notre Dame losing at home to Northern Illinois?
Yeah.
But they're capable of it. I think Clemson's capable of it in the ACC. I think Alabama's capable of it. I think Texas is capable of it. Ohio State's capable of it. Penn State's capable of it. Oregon's capable of it. You could argue that Georgia's capable of it. I don't think that they will. Their schedule's pretty hard, but they're capable of it. And I could see some team in the like, would it shock me if Arizona State ran the table in the Big 12? No, it wouldn't. So I see more paths to undefeated this year than I did last year. That's why I'm going to sell this, because I'm going to say that there'll be more than one.
I do buy that there's going to be more than one, and you actually listed off two of the teams that I think have the opportunity to do it. But I think the interesting thing is there is a lot of crossover between some of the other top teams. Like Ohio State has the capability to do it. So does Penn State, but then they play each other. Oregon and Penn State both do, but then they play each other. And so I think that's going to be interesting to see what that looks like for those teams. But I do think there will be more than one. So I do buy that. Another one from D. Troll Hunter. Texas will go 10-2 in the regular season. Buy, sell, hold.
Trev, I am very back and forth on this one.
Mm-hmm.
But the reason that I'm going to buy that, and the reason that I'm buying that is because I don't think they lose every big game they play on the road, but I think they lose two of them, because they've got three really tough road games: at Ohio State, at Florida, and at Georgia. I think they lose two of them. I think they win one of them. I don't know which one that's going to be, but I think like Texas is capable of winning, going undefeated. They're capable of it. I don't think they will. And I think there's a better chance they go 9-3 than they go 12-0. But there's at least a path where I could see it, because I actually think Texas has the talent to do so. I just worry that some of their talent's a little too young and green. That's a bit of my concern. But man, I could see them drop. I see them dropping two games. I have Texas at 10-2 this year. Yes.
Because of what my prediction is for them, I sell it.
Okay, interesting.
I sell it because I'm with you on Texas's top-end talent being young and kind of green, but I think that's also the case for two of the three big road games that they play. In certain cases. That
would be Ohio State, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
Which is the other one, Florida or Georgia?
Georgia.
That's a good one. They got to prove to me they can beat Georgia first.
Oh, yeah. No, absolutely. Mine is more like, if there's the year to do it for Texas, I think now would be their better chance to beat Georgia this year than it was last year, because of everybody that they had on defense for Georgia. Like I know we're getting ready to do, later on here in the offseason, like our top 10 D lines. And I was looking at Georgia's and I was like, outside of really Kristen Miller, it's an entirely new group, And so I that's kind of what played into my thinking here.
I would have thought last year was that, because you had them at home and their secondary was average and you could not take advantage of it. And you had a veteran quarterback. You had Matthew Golden and Silas Bolden in the portal. You had, the other receivers we know about. You had Gunnar Helm, and you just got bullied. Now, the reason that I think there should be some optimism that you can turn that around this year is because Coach Sarkisian recognized that they got bullied by those two Georgia games and by Ohio State.
Mm-hmm.
And he went out and tried to fix that in the portal. Now, I don't know if it's going to work or not, because I think there's a lot more than just the players. It's like with Lincoln Riley. You can go out and get all the portal guys you want, and you can get Danton Lynn, who I think is a heck of a D coordinator, but you are the primary reason your team is soft. And until you fix that, then you're going to still have that problem.
Agreed.
But it's gonna be but Trev, this whole conversation we're having about Texas going 10-2 or 9-3 or 11-1 or 12-0 is why I think this is going to be such a fun season of college football.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, and it's even I have them going 2-1 in those away games and holding serve at home, but I don't know which away game they lose yet.
No.
I just don't see them running the table in.
Well, and I don't think Oklahoma in Dallas is going to be a cakewalk either this year, because I think Texas has some issues at times with mobile quarterbacks. So I think that can be like John Mateer could be a bit of a challenge for them. I mean, heck, they played relatively well against Oklahoma last year, ended up winning 34-3, although I don't think they played great. I think it was more about Oklahoma just being terrible. But they lost to Oklahoma 2 years ago in 2023, and they did blow them out in 2022. Like, that was a monster blowout. But the last couple of years, they were a little up and down against Oklahoma. But this is going to be a different Oklahoma team from a skill player standpoint. I just worry about their offensive line. But is Texas's defensive line good enough to take advantage? That's one of the things that's going to determine whether Texas is 9-3 or if they're pushing for a playoff berth again. So that's kind of where I'm at. So
yeah.
It's going to be interesting. It's going to be an interesting year.
Buy, sell, hold. Toledo beats Kentucky in week 1.
I could see that. I'm not high on this Kentucky team. I'm not high on Zach Calzada as their quarterback. I think something went really wrong with that team last year, Trev. And I think that with Mark Stoops kind of looking to take the job at A&M, how that whole thing went down, I wonder how that's kind of affected the buy-in for that team, because they were not only bad last year from a record standpoint, they were bad they were just not competitive a lot. Yeah. Which is wild, because then they go beat Ole Miss at Ole Miss and they take Georgia down to the wire. So you're like, wait a minute, dude, what are you talking about? They beat Ole Miss and almost beat Georgia. Yeah, I know. But they lost by 25 to South Carolina. They lost by 28 to Florida. They lost by 14 to Auburn. They lost by 10 to Tennessee. They lost by 17 to Texas, and they lost by 27 to Louisville. Those two competitive, and they lost by at home by a touchdown to Vanderbilt. The anomalies were the Georgia Ole Miss game. And it's like they put all their energy into those two games and then just got smacked by everybody else. So I don't love that Kentucky team, Trev. They're very reliant on the portal in both trenches and at quarterback, and like they're just relying on portal players at way too many positions. And I just don't know. I'm just not sold on that team. I'm really not. And I think Toledo is a team that, is going to be one of the better MAC teams in the league. And the other part about it too is Toledo has shown they're not afraid to go under their coach. They're not afraid to go into a big time stadium and battle. Look what they did to Notre Dame a couple years ago. Was it last year they beat Mississippi State? Hold on, let me look up Toledo. I think it was last year. Didn't they beat an SEC team last year? Yeah, they went to Mississippi State and beat them 41-17. So this is a program under Jason Candle that they're not afraid to go play somebody. They played Illinois 2 years ago, lost 30-28. Remember that? That was a close ball game. Got blown out by Ohio State, but they were not – they just got out-athleted in that game. And then 2021, they almost beat Notre Dame. So going to Kentucky is not going to be this environment that Toledo players are just like, oh, no, we've never been in this environment. How are we going to thrive? Playing in Kentucky, which is a short trip for them. It's a few hours away. Yeah. So I'll buy that.
Yeah, I definitely buy it as a possibility. I can't buy it definitively because I just don't know too much about Toledo's roster this year. But look, man, if last season in college football taught me anything, it's anybody can lose or win on any given Saturday. Yeah. And so it's definitely a possibility for sure.
They got a quarterback coming back that I think you'll like, Trev, a kid named Tucker Gleason. He's a returning starting quarterback. So he was a kid last year, passed for 2,800 yards in 12 games, rushed for 7 touchdowns, over 300 yards. He's a good player.
Okay.
He's a good player. Yeah. But, I mean, like a lot of these teams, any good player they had for the most part is hitting the portal, going somewhere else. But, yeah. Sure. Yeah, they have a good team coming back. Got another super chat from Drew Rainey. Drew, thank you so much. Someone suggested me joining the boards. I'm in Utah Irish 77. That's awesome, man. Welcome aboard. I think you're going to like it. Check out that Sub and Absher film
Yes.
cut-ups that I have. You'll enjoy that. Help you get to know that. We're going to have some more film cut-ups coming. I'm going to take a couple plays and then just some stuff. I'm in that mood, Trev, where I'm just going to start pumping out a lot of that stuff. So
Love it.
it's going to be fun. So I appreciate that, man. Welcome aboard. Welcome aboard.
Buy, sell, hold. You would be more surprised if Penn State were to win the national championship than if they were a first-round playoff loss.
Oh, definite buy. I think Penn State's going to be potentially going to be a top 5 regular season team, but I'll believe they can win a championship when they can do it. I don't see them. Well, let's be real. They gave Notre Dame a battle last year. There's no doubt. I gained respect for them in that game, for their players and their coordinators, and I gained respect for how they never quit against Ohio State. They never quit against Oregon even. But it's still James Franklin's team, and I don't think they can assume that they're going to be able to play basically 2 group of 5 teams in the first 2 rounds, essentially, which is essentially what they did last year. And, if they'd have played – like I look at last year's quarterfinals, and, okay, you get SMU at home. All right, you win that. I don't know that there's anyone else in the quarterfinals they would have beat. Maybe Arizona State, other than Boise.
Yeah.
Maybe Arizona State. Maybe.
Yeah. I'm with that. I would be more surprised if they won a national championship. And this is coming from somebody who ranked them number 1 in my
But that was a preseason poll.
Yeah.
That was where you should be ranked when the season starts. That was not you predicting they were going to win a national championship, just so people understand.
Yes. Yes, I appreciate that clarification. I've had many a battle with that conversation.
Yeah.
So I appreciate the clarification. But yes, it's at the end of the day, it's because of who's atop of the program.
Yeah.
I've said it all offseason. If you just look at the roster and the coordinators, that's a championship caliber program. It is. Until you look at who's kind of steering the ship, and it's like, okay, I would be more surprised if they won the national championship. So that's where I'm at with Penn State. To follow that up, the 2 loudest talking fan bases this offseason have been Penn State and Texas.
So I can't speak on Texas because I haven't seen a lot of Texas. I haven't. So I don't know. I should probably go send a tweet out saying, hey, I don't think Texas is going to make the playoff this year, and just enjoy the next 2 days of just insanity. But the Penn State one I'll buy. I've had a couple people tell me that Texas fans have been super mad. You know what's funny? I have heard very little from Ohio State fans this offseason. I just assumed that I was going to get nothing but Ohio State fans talking trash all offseason. And I haven't had any of it. Like,
nope.
Most of my engagement with Ohio State fans has been pleasant. We don't agree on everything, but it's been very pleasant. Michigan fans have been kind of quiet this offseason from what I've seen. Maybe it's just because they're just not in my algorithm anymore and I don't see it. But, like, Penn State fans just do nothing but run off on the mouth. Like Insured by Big said, Texas fans haven't. It's more the media being on Texas.
Agreed.
That's what I've seen. I haven't seen Texas fans be real mouthy. The 2 fan bases that I've had the most interaction with of just like, why are you talking like your team is phenomenal, is Penn State and Miami. Miami fans have been way worse than Ohio State or Texas, just for me, just with what I see. Now, again, I only look at what I see. I don't sit on Twitter all day and engage with people. I put my shows up. I'll respond to comments and stuff like that, but that's about it. But, yeah, Kansas, like somebody said Kansas State. I haven't seen that. I saw that around the Ian Premer time, but Miami fans all offseason, just yap. Penn State fans just losing their minds. And the best comeback they've had so far to me is, well, it doesn't matter that you beat us because you lost Ohio State the next week, which I don't understand. And the other ones, well, you didn't go to Notre Dame. Well, yeah, I'm not from a state where basically anyone, from a in-state school gets admitted to your 40,000, per people. I mean, it's like, come on, dude. Like, that's not an argument. When that's what you have to resort to, just admit, look, man, you guys were better than us that day. We dominated you except for the score. But
that's one of the more interesting comebacks, I will say. And I've been around sports and I've been a Notre Dame fan my entire life. The "you didn't go there" has been relatively new.
That is very new, and it's something that all these schools like to use against Notre Dame fans. And it's like, that's not the flex you think it is, state school grad.
No. Well, and it's also just not at its core. That's not why you become a sports fan.
Right.
I mean, most of it's based on your region, where you grew up.
You never played for the Steelers.
No,
You know what I mean? Like,
no.
So it's just dumb. Yeah.
No, that's been wild. I will buy Penn State. I'm with you guys on Texas. The one for me that's kind of been chirping a lot, that I've seen a lot, is USC. I've seen that quite a bit.
I haven't seen anything from USC on mine.
Yeah, there's been a lot on my algorithm for whatever reason that I'll just see, and it just gets me fired up. And you would not have thought that they went 7-6 last year. I'll just say that. Mm-hmm. You would have thought.
Mark Apple said that Steyer's guy talks Kansas trash a lot. I see alums tend to talk a lot of trash about their schools. That's how it works. That's good.
All righty. Frito pie, nachos, stadium pretzel. It's a classic 40-degree fall game day.
I'm going nachos, but like for me, nachos are just kind of the chips and cheese. I'm going that. Stadium pretzel is my hold, and Frito pie is my sell. I don't even necessarily know what a Frito pie is, to be completely honest with you. I'm actually looking that up as we talk right now. But okay, I'm looking at that. That's way too messy for a sporting
What
event.
is it?
It's basically, it looks kind of like it's got Frito chips on it, and then it's got like meat and jalapenos, tomatoes, cheese. It's kind of like a nachos you'd get at a restaurant. It looks a little bit like that, where it's like got a bunch of stuff. Like, that's messy. Nachos at a game is cool because it's just chips and cheese, and I can handle that. But yeah, I've never had Frito pie before.
I've never even heard what that. If it's a walking taco, then I'm down for that. But if it's like on a plate, like that picture you pulled up, is it just like on a plate?
It looks like it's in a dish. This particular one's in a dish. So it's like you scoop it out and it's got a bunch of stuff on it. And it's Fritos at the bottom. No, I've never had that before.
Well, if it's a walking taco, then that would probably be my buy. My only pushback with this list is I don't think 40 degrees is what I would consider a classic fall day. That's a little chilly. I think fall is like
from
55.
Indiana. Come on, man.
Yeah, that's 55, man. 40 is cold.
Yeah. Some people are saying that you put them in a Frito bag. So
okay, then
but the ones that I looked up online were like in dishes and stuff like that. So if it's like a walking taco kind of thing where it's got meat and cheese and lettuce and that I could dig that. My cousin's son graduated high school a couple years ago, and they had Dorito bags with the meat and the cheese, and I was like, this is really good.
Yeah.
But yeah. So what people are describing in the chat is different than the other one. Now, here's why I wouldn't do stadium pretzel. I love soft pretzels. Love soft pretzels. The problem is, for the last decade, stadium pretzels at the places I've been are super hit or miss. You either get one that's really good, really cold, or a brick.
Yeah.
Like if you get jumped in the walk between your seat and the concession stand, use it as a weapon, because you can knock a couple dudes out with some of the times the things soft pretzels you get. So they're just so hit or miss. Like, in theory, a soft pretzel is phenomenal, but I've just had so many stadium pretzels that are just that I'd be very reluctant to spend $49 to buy one.
Well, if you're ever at a
little
European
exaggeration on the price, but it's not that far off.
If you're ever at a European soccer match and you're in fear of getting trampled, go find a stale pretzel.
Yes,
get
use that
yourself
sucker
out of
as a
there.
weapon. Just start like circling around, like Thor when he's in Ragnarok at the beginning. He's got Mjolnir and he's just circling around and hitting people with it. That's what you're doing with your soft pretzel. That you get at a stadium. So no, I love soft pretzels.
Mm-hmm.
It's just and when I was a kid, when you go to Reds games, I'd always get soft pretzels because they were always good. They're ginormous. They had salt on them. You get good cheese. Now the cheese is all nasty. It's like it's been there for 2 years, and it's just they're not cooked right. And it costs way more. So I just screw it. Don't get them. But now when Angela and I go to the University Park Mall, do we go over to what is the Ben's or what is it? Isn't that what it's called?
Yeah, Ben's soft pretzels.
Oh yeah, that's happening. So I love soft. It was one of my favorite traditions as a kid is when I was a teenager, when we moved from Ohio to Virginia, when my dad and I would go, when our family would go back in town to Ohio to visit family, my dad and I was always go to Lima Mall because they had one of these soft pretzel stands and you get like the soft pretzel, they were in sticks, and it was our tradition. But now I think the mall is completely closed now, but eventually just as it, over the years, as it starts to wane, they went away. It was one of the saddest father-son moments of our lives. And is when we went to the mall and there's no more soft pretzel stands.
Oh.
So, but at stadiums, they've just for over a decade, they've just been, I can't tell you the last time I had a good soft. And every year I go to a Cubs game, South Bend Cubs game, I'm like, okay, this is the year that's going to be good. And it's not. The one that we got down at the Bends that they sell at the end of the state, those are good. But yeah.
No, I'm with you on that completely. I've swapped out stadium pretzels for hot dogs because like the margin for error with a hot dog at a stadium is not as wide as what a stadium pretzel is.
Especially for me, because I don't put anything on a hot dog. Not at a stadium. If I'm eating one like at home, I like some good chili sauce or coney sauce, but at a game, I wouldn't put that on there. I'm wearing it for the next 3 quarters.
Yeah. I'm with you. Ramcray 75. Buy one, sell one, hold one. Xavier Watts, Harrison Smith, Stan Smagala.
Man. Oh, boy. That is tough. Man. Who was better, Harrison Smith the last 2 years or Xavier Watts the last 2 years? I'd kind of have to lean towards Harrison. Just because I feel like Harrison wasn't quite the ball hawk Xavier was, but he was a tackling machine.
Yeah.
His last 2 years. But he still was effective against the pass. So I'd have to go Harrison barely. And it hurts my heart to go there. Xavier would be my hold. Stan Smagala is a sell. Stan was a corner also. So he wouldn't really fit that. But he wasn't nearly the player that those two guys were.
Oh, that one's hard.
Yeah.
That one's really tough. I'll buy Xavier Watts just from recency bias, but I'm sure after the show when I go pop in some Harrison Smith highlights, I might want to change my answer.
If you're like, okay, yeah, I'm going with Xavier Watts because he had more interceptions and all that, and then you start looking at the numbers, and you're like, oh yeah, that's right. Harrison had 181 tackles his last 2 years at Notre Dame. He had 16 pass breakups and 7 interceptions, 2 forced fumbles his last year. You're like, yeah, here's at the end of the day, it's a win-win.
Yeah.
You want to take Xavier, I'm not arguing with you. You want to take Harrison, I'm not arguing with you. And if you ask me this question tomorrow, my answer might be different, but it's going to be one of those two.
Agreed.
If you'd have put Kyle Hamilton in here, I still would have bought those two guys because, again, we got great Kyle Hamilton for 1 season.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. And he was great in 2020. But with Xavier, we got 2 great years. With Harrison, we got 2 great years. With Kyle, we got 1 1/3. And that's really it.
Yep. Another one from Ramcray 75. We have to buy one, sell one, hold one again. 80s NFL, 90s NFL, 2000s NFL.
This is a really good one. This is one of my favorite ever. I'm going to probably go 90s. I'm buying 90s. And as a Broncos fan, that's an easy one because I got to watch 2 Super Bowls for the Broncos in the 90s. So there's nothing that's ever going to trump the 90s for me. And there was also, that was when the era of the quarterback really was going on. I mean, you had so many of the all-time greats playing in the 90s. I mean, you had Elway, Montana. You had, Marino. You had Randall Cunningham. You had Brett Favre. You had Drew Bledsoe. I mean, there were so many great quarterbacks in the 90s. I'm holding the 2000s because I think the 2000s was a pretty darn good era of NFL football, especially the early, like 2000 to 09, because you still had some of the greats of quarterback were still left. You still had Brett Favre, but then Aaron Rodgers comes along. You have Peyton, you have Brady, you have Drew Brees, you have Michael Vick. Plus, you started seeing the game open up a little bit more, but not to the way it is now, where it's like not as enjoyable to watch now. Where now it's less. You still had really good defenses back then because you had that dichotomy of the Colts, who are that up-tempo, high-octane offense early in the 2000s, with the Patriots that were still about smacking you in the mouth and playing great defense. You know, you had the Raiders in was it 02? You had this great Raiders offense that scored all these points under Rich Gannon, and you had this Tampa Bay defense with Hall of Famers on all three levels. You know, and it just was like, man, this is a contrast in styles. Now it's like two teams that kind of do the same thing playing against each other is kind of how I feel. And so so if we're going 2000s, I look at that as 2000 to 2010, essentially 2000, 2009. Is that how you take that one as well?
Yep.
I'm holding that, but it's a close hold, and I'm selling 1980s. I like the 1980s football as far as when I was a kid, but I felt the game from 90 on got better because you saw offenses open up a little bit, quarterback play got better. You started to see teams moving more towards taking advantage of the athletes in football, where before it was run the ball, play great defense. You started seeing teams built, like Bill Walsh had a tremendous impact in that regard. And he wasn't the only one. You had Dan Coryell, you had other guys that were doing it, but Bill Walsh is the one that won Super Bowls with it. And you started to see more guys care more about, like, okay, yeah, we want to run the ball, but we want to have athletes. Like the Broncos in the 90s, yeah, they still ran the ball, played good defense, but they were better throwing it too than they were in the 80s. So I just think that's why it was a better time. I don't not pick the 80s very often. But when it comes to the NFL, like if you were to ask me basketball, I'd take 80s basketball over 90s basketball and 2000s basketball. But NFL, 90s was to me the golden era of the NFL, in my opinion.
I'm gonna take a stab at trying to answer this one. I don't want to just say I was too young to remember the 90s and 80s because we've obviously already established that. But I'm gonna go outside looking in. I think I'm gonna go. I think I'm going to buy the 2000s. That is still where my younger bias comes in a little bit, but that was the age that, you know, one of the best sports dynasties of my lifetime in the Patriots was kind of born in that era with Tom Brady. And then you also got to see Peyton Manning and Drew Brees and all that emergence. And to your point, Brian, offenses started to open up a little bit, not to the point where they are now, but you started to see it open up a little bit. And then I'm going to,
which made it more impressive back then when you had teams like, you know, the Rams in the late 90s and early 2000s and stuff like that, because it wasn't everyone was doing it as much.
Yep. And then I'm going to hold the 90s because that was kind of my, as a kid, introduction to like the legends of the game.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and you know, you listed off all the quarterbacks and, you know, Emmitt Smith and the Cowboys in the 90s, Barry Sanders, you had Troy Aikman, Michael Irvin, and all them. And so
like the 90s valued all positions too. I mean, not in the stance of like you had greatness at all positions, more so than you have now. Like, that's a good point.
Yep. And so, and then I would sell the 80s, and I don't really have the biggest reason for it. It's just kind of the lesser of the three from my vision.
Yeah.
From my perspective.
We have officially seen the most biased post ever on this site. Ever during a show. The most biased post ever. Bill Walsh says, come on, Bill Walsh was the 1980s. Most biased post ever. So there you go. But yeah, so we're on this. We just flip it, right? You had hold 90s, bought 2000s, and sold the 80s. Yeah, we're close.
Aidan Benami, if the offense isn't producing, clicking, etc., it will mainly or solely be because of quarterback play and not because of the other groups on offense.
Sell. It'll be because of the offensive line.
Buy, sell, hold. You'll be very, very happy, and it will be a home run if Notre Dame gets Teddy Gerard tomorrow.
Yeah, I'll be happy about that. I mean, look, I've said a couple things. Number one is right now, I think Peyton Houston's the better player right now. I don't care what they did at a camp. If Peyton Houston was the guy that was leaning towards Notre Dame, allegedly, and Teddy Gerard was not, we'd all be like, no one cares about camps. Peyton, look what Peyton did during his sophomore season. Like, let's be honest about that. But the question is, who's got the more upside? And that's where I think the excitement comes with Teddy Gerard is you hope that what he's done this summer carries into his junior year, because he was a good player last year, but he wasn't an elite player last year. He's obviously had a very good offseason. He really impressed the Notre Dame coaches when he threw in front of them this offseason. Like, he wasn't a top guy until they really got a chance to see him throw this summer, where he's shown some of his improvements. And so with a quarterback that you're taking as a sophomore, rising junior, it's all about the upside. And with Teddy Gerard, there's a lot of upside. He's tall. He's got a nice frame. He's got a really live arm. He's got good athleticism. He's got some toughness to him. I love the fact he's transferring to a public school where he's going to face a lot tougher competition. I like that. But he's not transferred like an IMG or a St. Thomas Aquinas or something where it's like, okay, dude, you're going to he's just going to the public school where he's from. He went to North Cobb Christian last year. He's going to North Cobb Public High School this year. So I like that and challenging himself. I like the fact that he's competitive. He goes to these different events and competes, and there's a lot to like about him. Is he as good of a quarterback as Peyton Houston is today? No, he's not. And that's based off what they do with pads on. Could he be by the time they're seniors? Absolutely. At the end of the day, here's what I said when they offered the two quarterbacks. You got to get one of them. And I'll be happy with either one of them. And if Teddy Gerard commits to Notre Dame right now, I'll be fired up, because you've got a kid with a very high upside, which any kid that's a rising junior, all I care about is his upside, because you're not taking a kid based off what he did as a sophomore in high school very often. Because what if he plateaus? I've said this before. Josh Myers, as a freshman, rising sophomore in high school, was one of the best offensive linemen I've ever seen. He was from Kentucky, ended up going to Ohio State. Now, he ended up being an NFL draft pick. He's played in the NFL, but he didn't develop. He went from being a pure left tackle to more of a center guard. His hips got a little tight. He never took that jump athletically. Like, you don't know that a guy's going to do that. So you're banking on upside. And with Teddy, there's a lot of upside there. He needs a lot of work. He's got to fix that weight distribution problem that he has, which people are like, well, I don't see what you see. I'm like, yeah, because you've only watched his highlights. You watch his game film and you see balls just die on him, and you understand that he's got to fix that. But it's fixable. Anything that's lower body, I don't worry about too much. It's when a guy has a funky upper body thing that's causing problems that I get worried, and Teddy does not have that problem. He's got a really nice, like, whiplash kind of throwing motion. He's got a really nice compact. He's quick through the throwing zone. He's got to fix his feet. And if that's your biggest problem, that's good, because that's the easiest thing to correct with a quarterback is the feet. That's the absolute easiest thing to correct.
Yep, absolutely.
So, yeah, if he picks Notre Dame tomorrow, if you get him, you'll have to beat Ohio State, Georgia, teams like that in Michigan to get him. It's a big win. And you always want to get a top quarterback early on.
Yep.
And with his rankings boost going up because of what he did without pads on this summer, that also would be huge for Notre Dame. Mm-hmm. So, absolutely. Like, look, do I think Peyton Houston's better? Yes. But what I would encourage all people who think Peyton's better or Malachi Ziegler's better or Peter Bork's better, whoever, guys, it's not about picking a guy. I'm team Peyton. It's, did you get a top quarterback? That's what matters.
Yeah.
And Teddy Gerard has the potential to be a top quarterback. That's what it is.
Yep.
So hopefully they'll get him. Commits at 1:00 tomorrow. So, we who knows? We might be talking about it at the beginning of the show.
Maybe. Buy sell hold from Item Benami. A freshman will make a start this year, not due to injury.
Buy. Yeah. Buy. I don't buy with a ton of conviction, but when I think of corner, like nickel, I think of safety, I think of offensive line, I think of tight end. Could it happen at all? Yeah, it could happen at all. When you start talking about not injury related, that's where it gets a little bit more dicey, because it won't happen at tight end without an injury. It won't happen at corner without an injury. But I look at it and sit there and just say, I still expect Jadon Blair to have a shot to win that job at some point in time. And that's where it comes from. But I'm not putting my mortgage on that.
We see that the same. Another one from Iden. Notre Dame -2.5 is an absolute lock. And everyone, yes, you too, Trev, need to go heavy on the points.
Is this for the Miami game?
It is.
Okay. I'll let you answer this one.
Yeah. I will.
Keep in mind that anything we say related to gambling is meant for entertainment purposes only, and we are not responsible if you listen to what we say and go bet and you lose. Just want to make sure that we're clear on that.
Correct. I am responsible when I lose, but yeah, no, Iden, I love the line. I do. I've already put in some fun stuff this for college football future picks in week 1 because it's already coming up. Me and some of the guys have already talked about it, but yeah. Yeah, I'll buy it for now. Yeah. JP is for Notre Dame with a buy, sell, hold. If the 2025 Notre Dame overall record was based on our fighting Irish leprechaun in a ring with the other team's game mascots each week, Notre Dame would finish at least 6-6.
All right. So this is actually a fun question. So number 1, against a hurricane, I'm absolutely taking Notre Dame's leprechaun against a hurricane because he's in South Bend, Indiana, and by the time the hurricane gets overland towards Indiana, it's dead. So I'm cheating a little bit on that one. An Aggie. What is an Aggie?
I have no idea, actually.
Yes. Most commonly refers to a student or graduate of Texas A&M, particularly due to its agricultural roots. So I'm either taking a magical creature over a farmer. Now, I love our farmers, but they're not beating magic. Right? So 2-0. Boilermaker, and some hard dudes. Those are some dudes like those. They got weapons and stuff. I might have to take the Boilermaker on that one, man. But a Razorback. I mean, that's a pig. It's a wild pig. I'm taking the leprechaun. He's going to have a nice little. I'll let him borrow my Sig 400 tread.
There we go.
AR. Let him borrow that for a couple minutes. We'll take care of that Razorback. So we're 3-1 right now. A Bronco. I mean, humans tame Broncos all the time. 4-1. Wolfpack. I'm going to have to go 4-2 on this one.
Yeah, a pack of wolves.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Your magic ain't saving you in that one. A Trojan. Yeah, Notre Dame is going to the leprechaun against the people who are only known in history because they lost. I mean, like, can we not forget that? What is a Trojan? What's the only thing we know really about the Trojans? They got beat by the Greeks. Just saying. So that's a win. An Eagle, that's a win. A midshipman, I'm sorry. They got nukes and stuff. I'm just saying, like, they got fighter pilots. That's an L. That's an L.
Yeah, I'm taking a battleship over a leprechaun.
Exactly.
I am.
I'm taking the carriers, and
Yeah.
I'm taking the Hornets and the B-2 bombers over the leprechaun. With all due respect. Panther. I'm kind of feel like I'm gonna have to take the Panther on that one.
Yeah.
In orange, I'm taking a giant straw, popping that sucker upside his forehead, and drinking some OJ.
Yeah.
That's a win. And then a tree. Yes, I'm going to help allow the leprechaun to use one of my, my axe outside, and he's going to chop that tree down. So you got a loss to the Boilermakers, you got a loss to the Wolf Pack, you got a loss to the midshipman and his repertoire of weapons, and then a loss to a Panther. So I'm going 8-4, 7-5 at worst. If I want to say, okay, they're going to lose to the Boilermakers, then they also lose to the Aggies. But I'm going to go 7-5 at worst. I'll go 8-4. How about that? You know, like how I talk. There's some I can talk myself into, and there's others like, nah, I ain't talking about a Wolf Pack. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah.
Notre Dame versus the B-2 Bombers. Okay, yeah, I'm going to go with the B-2 Bombers on that one.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. I don't know how far magic is going to get you when you're going up against an F-22 Rat.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
5th gen fighters against a leprechaun. I'm going to go ahead and go with the 5th gen fighters. So there you go. So 8-4. How about that? 8-4. Does that work? Okay.
Love it. So we're buying. Finish at least 6-6.
Yeah. Would finish at least. Yeah. Yeah. There you go.
Buy, sell, hold from 15 Sheets JM. Mike Mickens will be at another school in 2027.
Sell. I'm not going to accept that reality until I have to. So sell that one.
Agreed. To follow that up, Chris Ash is no longer at Notre Dame than 3 years. Or is at Notre Dame longer than 3 years.
I'm selling that one as well because I can't buy the first one and sell the second one.
Yep.
Yep.
Question in here from the history expert. Marcus Freeman, among other things, must win at least 3 national championships to be considered the greatest Notre Dame coach of all time.
He's got to win. I mean, I would say he's got to win at least 4. I mean, that's what Frank Leahy won. He won 4. Newt won 7. So yeah, that's fair. I'll buy that as an option to be considered the greatest. Yeah, I think I went through at least 3. I think if you win 3 or 4, you're in that conversation because I think it is a little harder to win it now.
Yeah.
Than then where you get voted on. But you could also argue that maybe those coaches would have won more in the playoff era. We don't know that. But yeah, I'll buy that.
Yep.
I read it. So Irish Gordon Knott said, I thought it said one of the greatest. That's how I read it in my head at first too. To be considered one of the greatest. That's how I read it at first. I don't know where that came from. And I was going to say, he just needs 1 to be considered one of the greatest. But to consider the greatest, he needs I'd say 4. Because there's things he's going to do. There's things he's just not going to be able to do to match Frank Leahy. He's not going to have 4 straight seasons where they don't lose a game. So you at least got to match him in titles.
Yeah.
In an era where I think it's a little tougher to win. So yeah, I'll say that.
Yep.
And 10-3 has to be from 2023 has to be your worst season of the next 10, 15 years.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah. Okay, here we go. It was doing so well, Trev.
Oh.
It was doing so well for a while there, and then it just stops responding. All right.
Jeez.
Yep. I don't think that's the last one. Hold on a second. Let me go look at the cards here. I don't think. No, it's definitely not the last one. We have a lot more, so I don't know why it's. Give me a second.
It got upset about the thought of Mike Mickens leaving.
It did. I am upset too. Yeah, I'm upset about that too. Here we go.
All righty. Older than dirt, you strongly believe in these new software programs known as artificial intelligence as a great new tool for figuring out almost anything. Buy, sell, hold.
Sell. I think sometimes giving the answer is not good for you. Just being told the answer without having any context of anything is a struggle. And I don't think these things are always right. I looked up the other day. I typed into the Google search. I said, who has Notre Dame played the most? Now, I was looking for an article or something like that where I could kind of look. And the AI thing that's at the top of Google said the answer was like Pitt. I think it was like at 84. And then it was like they've also played so-and-so and USC, parentheses, like 92. And I'm like, yeah, that's wrong. So I think we need to be very careful using this as a tool for figuring things out, because just being handed an answer doesn't mean that you figured anything out. If you don't understand, like there could be times of like, if an answer's, how many Super Bowls have the Broncos won? The answer's 3. Okay, I've got my answer. I don't need context. I'm looking for a number. I just still think that just relying on someone giving you the answer like that is not necessarily a great thing. You want people to learn. You want people to think critically and all that kind of stuff. And I don't know that it does that. So, and at the end of the day, yeah, I sell that. I sell that.
Yeah, I definitely sell because I definitely don't strongly believe. Do I think it is a tool that you could use? I mean,
sure.
Yeah. Like it should
research,
be one of the
sure.
things. Yeah, right. But there's very few things in my life that is an absolute, and I will only go based off of that one thing. And that list is very short. It's what grocery store I go to, what barber I use, and what my wife says. And that's like kind of the list. Like AI, like I'm not a big believer in you should only use one thing for anything. I mean, Brian, the amount of research that you and I do for this job, we don't just use a site.
Mm-mm.
You know, when I first got hired on, he sent me basically an email list of links of like, hey, check this out for this, check this out for this. Hey, check out this website for these stats and this website for these stats. You should never just use one thing.
Mm-hmm.
JG Whitetown. It's 3rd and goal on the 3-yard line, down by 4 with 10 seconds left in the game. Who gets the ball? And I'm assuming we're supposed to buy one, sell one, and hold one. Josh Adams, Kyron Williams, Jeremiah Love.
Buying Jeremiah Love, holding Kyron Williams, selling Josh Adams. The reason I'm buying Jeremiah Love is because I've seen him and Kyron are both like warriors. I mean, they're tough, hard-nosed kids, but I watched Jeremiah Love do what he did at the 2-yard line against Penn State. I'm getting that guy the football. But I wouldn't be opposed to Kyron having a shot at that game. Josh would be the worst option there because Josh at 6'2 plus and a very high running style is not a guy you want running in tight quarters. Josh is the home run hitter. He's your change of pace home run hitter. He's not your you need to grind out tough yards guy. Just it's not his running style. It's not a knock on him as a player. It's just not his running style.
Well, and he's also in that list of 3 guys, the least likely one I would want to throw the ball to as well. I would also rather throw it to J Love or Kyron. I mean, if there's 10 seconds left to go in the game and it's 3rd and goal, I also don't know if I'm running the ball.
Right. Do I have any timeouts left? All right,
yeah.
That would be part of it too.
Yep. So I'm in the same order. Buy Jeremiah, hold Kyron, sell Josh Adams. JG Whitetown with another one. With this year's talent, who do you pick as defensive coordinator? Buy one, sell one, hold one. Marcus Freeman, Clark Lee, Mike Elko.
I'm picking Mike Elko because Marcus Freeman is my head coach, and he's not going to also be my defensive coordinator. So if I had to pick between one of those two, I'd take Mike Elko. Mm-hmm. Love Clark Lee, great guy. Mike Elko is better defensive coordinator. That's an easy one.
I'm with you.
I'm holding Clark Lee. I'm selling Marcus Freeman because I'm not having him also be the defensive coordinator right now. I thought about that early on, like what if maybe doing both early on, but no.
I'm with you. Buy, sell, hold. If Notre Dame establishes a devastating mid-passing game, 25 to 40 yards passing, who leads the team in receiving yards? So buy one, sell one, hold one. Will Pauling, Jaden Greathouse, Eli Raridan.
That is not a mid-passing game.
No.
That is a deep passing game. But if they develop a 25 to 40 yard, a devastating of that, who leads the team in receiving yards? Will buy, sell, hold. So I'm in that situation. I'm buying Jaden Greathouse. I'm holding Will Pauling, and I'm selling Eli Raridan. I think Eli Raridan could be the best tight end in the country. He won't lead the team in receiving yards. It'll be one of those two. But my top pick isn't even on this list.
Yeah.
Because Malachi, if they're devastating throwing the ball down the field, I still think the best target is going to be Malachi Fields.
Yep.
At 6'4", 220. But of those options, I'm going Greathouse buy, Pauling hold, Raridan sell.
With you.
Just because of number of opportunities.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, for sure. B-Jam and 41. It would be more satisfying for Notre Dame to beat LSU in the playoffs than LSU never making the playoffs in Kelly's tenure.
Oh, easy buy. I would much rather get them in the playoffs and smack them than to just taunt Kelly while he's sitting at home.
Yep.
Because then with LSU fans, there's always well, if we would have got in, we would have beat you. Like, no.
I would much rather be the team that sent somebody home than be the team talking about you being at home.
And I'll tell you this right now, if they played LSU and beat LSU, I would be in the front row of the LSU press conference afterwards. I'm just going to say that.
Oh, that's great.
Any more questions?
Yeah. Yeah.
I do. I got one.
Yeah.
I got one.
That's awesome. Yeah. Buy, sell, hold. No school has a better college NFL offensive combination than Pitt. Quarterback, Dan Marino. Running back, Philip Dorsett. Wide receiver, Larry Fitzgerald. Tight end, Mike Ditka.
If we're talking about what they were in college, I would say, yeah, they were better than Notre Dame. So if we're going to talk about what they were in the NFL, it's a little different conversation. I would take Notre Dame over them, but just trying to think through who are some other combinations. I mean, with all due respect to old Mike Ditka, a John Elway at quarterback, Christian McCaffrey at running back, and pick a tight end from the Jim Harbaugh, David Shaw era, Stanford might be in this conversation. Well, Ditka was a great college player as well. But John Elway and Christian McCaffrey wouldn't be a bad 1-2 punch in the backfield either. So Stanford, I think, could honestly be in that conversation. Just trying to think of some other teams. Ohio State, I mean, who would their best quarterback be? It's a fair question. Maybe C.J. Stroud. First career. And then running back, I mean, goodness gracious. You've Eddie George, Archie, the only 2-time Heisman Trophy winner ever was a guy that played at Ohio State. And then there's tight end would be the tough one for Ohio State, but they've had some great ones. I mean, even going back to Ricky Dudley back in the 90s and some guys that have recently. So that would be a little bit more tricky, but I don't know. Would any of those guys better than Marino? It's debatable. I mean, Georgia lacks at the quarterback one, but they've had some great tight ends and obviously Herschel Walker at running back. Their struggle's quarterback. Bama's issue would be quarterback as well. They've had some great backs, and none like Tony Dorsett, though. They've had some great tight ends. I'm trying to think of some other teams. USC would be in this conversation, in my opinion. When you look at USC with pick a quarterback, you've obviously Dan Marino was a great player, but you got Matt Leinart, you've got Carson Palmer, you've got Rodney Peete was a heck of a player. Probably not, he wasn't Dan Marino, but he was a great player. And then running back, I mean, pick a running back. As good as Tony Dorsett was, I mean, you're going to go O.J. Simpson, you're going to go Anthony Davis, we're going to go Charles White, we're going to go Reggie Bush. Like, which of the greats are we going to talk about? The tight end, again, is a little bit of a trickier one because Mike Ditka was a great player, but I mean, USC's had some tight ends over the years as well. I mean, kind of going back over the years, 80s, tight end would be a little bit of a tougher one because I don't know that USC has. They did have I don't know who he is, but they had a Charlie Young who was a number 6 overall draft pick in 1973, was from USC. Tight end would be a little bit tougher for USC, but quarterback and running back, I think they compete with those. Yeah, Marcus Allen. Somebody said Marcus Allen. Keyshawn Johnson at receiver. I mean, receiver's not an issue for USC, just like it's not an issue for Alabama, just like it's not an issue for Ohio State. I'm looking more at those other positions.
One of the teams that I was thinking about was Tennessee, but I can't think of a wide receiver because, I mean, quarterback, you had Peyton Manning. Running back, you had Alvin Kamara. Tight end, you had Jason Witten.
Well, they had some good ones. Obviously, Peyton had Marcus Nash, had Peerless Price. Also, who was it? Carl Pickens. I think Carl Pickens played at Tennessee as well. Let me go look at this one real quick because that's a good one. Let me go to receiver. But, yeah, I think let's see here. None of the recent guys were not in that conversation, but let's go back. I think he was from there. Let's go Josh Malone, no. Justin Hunter, no. Kelly Washington, no. Dante Stallworth was a pretty good college player. Let's see here. Peerless, like I said, Peerless Price was a guy that played with Peyton and T. Martin. Marcus Nash was a heck of a player, but I always looked at those guys as more of a byproduct of playing with Peyton, to be completely honest with you.
Yeah.
But let's see here. I thought, Carl Pickens was a heck of a college player at Tennessee. Alvin Harper, that's another one. Alvin Harper was a dude in college. He ended up going to the Cowboys and was a sidekick to Michael Everett. Anthony Miller from Tennessee. This is before your time, Trevor. He was a stud for the Chargers and even came over to the Broncos for a minute. He was a great receiver in the 80s and 90s. That's another good one. Tim McGee for the Bengals was a heck of a player out of Tennessee. That's another good one. So yeah, Tennessee's got some Willie Gault. That's a won a Super Bowl with the Bears. That's a good one. So yeah, the Tennessee had some. They've got some receivers that can compete in that regard. A lot of them are older, so that will explain why you didn't remember them. But yeah, Stanley Morgan was a heck of a player for the Patriots back in the 70s and 80s. He was from Tennessee.
A sleeper one, if you guys could help me think of a tight end, would be Cal. I'm not pounding my fist on
Tony
the
Gonzalez
wide receiver. Oh, that's right. I didn't. Yeah. Then there we go.
Yeah.
I mean, you'd have Aaron Rodgers, Marshawn Lynch, Deshaun Jackson, and Tony Gonzalez. That's not bad.
No, that's not bad at all. Deshaun Jackson wasn't as good as Larry Fitzgerald, but he was pretty flipping good. Tony Gonzalez was a stud.
Mm-hmm.
I'd probably still go with Marino at quarterback just because I had a longer career. I mean, Aaron had those 2 years, but that's a good one. That's a real good sleeper one. It's a real good sleeper one, Trev. I like that one. Just trying to think of some other teams that have a great, like, so it's funny, like some of these teams like Alabama, their best quarterback play came recently. Yeah. Because they were just the team that ran the ball a ton. But
like I'm starting with quarterbacks that I remember being good in the NFL, and then their college, and then going from there. That's how I got on Cal.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a good one. I'm trying to think of some other people. USC receiver's not a debate for you. Just pick one. I mean, that's running back. I don't know that there's a program that's ever produced more running backs over the history than USC. Just all-time great running backs than USC. Miami, I don't take Miami. Look, Miami's had some great running backs and wide receivers and tight ends. I don't know. Like Jim Kelly was good for a time. He wasn't great. He was pretty good. Bernie Kosar was pretty good. I don't know that any of those quarterbacks were they won a title with Craig Erickson. Ken Dorsey was just honestly he was a great point guard on an average talent, but a great point guard on an absolutely loaded team. If you're going to take a Miami quarterback, it's like, okay, how do you compare Marino and Jim Kelly? Well, you say, well, Jim Kelly got drafted before Marino. So did Todd Blackledge and Tony Eason. I don't know that I go into that one, but like with Jim Kelly, he was a really good player. But again, it's like, do I think he was he like that in college? Yeah, he was pretty good. Jim Kelly had really one good year. His last year at Miami, he got hurt. He actually played 11 games. I don't even think he started. What was the situation there? I have to go look it up. He played 11 games and only threw 81 passes, 3 touchdowns and a pick. He only had 1 year of over 2,000 yards in college. I mean, you compare that to Marino's stats. I mean, Marino's thing with him was there was a lot of stuff about him that was off the field related that caused him to drop. And he did throw a lot of picks, but back then that was a little bit more understandable. But yeah, that's an interesting one. I'm going to sell this because I think we've kind of named a couple that I'd probably take over. I mean, I'd take Peyton Manning over Marino. I'd probably take Tony Dorsett in college over any of Tennessee's backs, and they had some great backs. I mean, you've got obviously Jamal Lewis. You had Travis Stevens back even before then. I'm trying to remember the name of the guy that was Charles Bell from Tennessee. But they had a really good running back in the 80s. Receiver, Larry Fitzgerald, I'd take. Tight end. I'd probably take them over Tennessee. I'd take USC over them. I like that Cal talk, Trev. I like that Cal talk. That's a good one. But, yeah, I'll sell that. There's somebody. Whoever you like more, there's an argument to make for somebody different. Yep. I mean, here's a sleepy one. You'd have to kind of look at some of the other positions, but there's not a lot of teams that have produced a better combination than, Cam Newton and Bo Jackson. I mean, I have to go look and see who Auburn's best tight end would be, but I mean, Frank Thomas was pretty good.
Yeah.
But
I mean, honestly, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good one. Trying to see who Auburn's best receiver would be. That'd be another bit of a question mark. I don't know who that would be, but I mean, at least quarterback and running back, they're in that conversation, So I'm trying to go back and see if they have any receivers that would be in the conversation for old Auburn. But yeah, so I mean, anyway, whoever you're going to take, there's teams that I think we've named that I would take over.
Yeah,
over Pitt. But it is interesting that Pitt's in that conversation, though. They're in that conversation.
Yeah,
those are some all-time greats right there.
That's a heck of a question, BJ, man.
Yeah.
I'm not. That's one of my favorite ones that we've gotten in the offseason. I won't lie. That's fun.
Somebody said LSU quarterback maybe, but again, how do you compare Dan Marino with Joe Burrow? It's such a different era. They, that's, and the other thing is, again, Dan Marino did it for multiple years. Joe Burrow did it for one. It goes back to that conversation we had last week. But like, let's just say you take Joe Burrow, receiver. There's been some LSU guys that you could say had similar careers to Larry Fitzgerald. The question that I would have for LSU, and what I'd have to go look up, is I don't know who they would have at running back and tight end. They've had some good tight ends, but like running back has not been a position where they've been necessarily dominant. I think Leonard Fournette was really good. He wasn't Tony Dorsett. Like Tony Dorsett in college, just read you his numbers, Trev, just to give you an idea. First of all, Tony Dorsett won a national championship while at Pitt. But here's what Tony Dorsett did in his career. As a freshman, and keep in mind, he played 11 games every year. As a freshman, rushed for 1,586 yards, 12 touchdowns, 5.5 per carry. As a sophomore, rushed for 1,004 yards, 4.6 per carry, 11 touchdowns. As a junior, rushed for 1,544 yards, 6.8 per carry, 11 touchdowns, fourth in the Heisman Trophy voting. And then as a senior, rushed for 1,948 yards, 5.8 per carry, 21 touchdowns. Like, that's 4 years of dominance. And with all due respect to Leonard Fournette, he didn't do that. I mean, Tony Dornett's one of the best court running backs to ever play in college. He was a heck of a college player. Leonard Fournette had 1 year at 1,900 yards and 22 touchdowns in 12 games. So that compares. His next best year is 1,034, and then his next best year is 843. For his career, he doesn't compare because Tony Dorsett had 1,948 yards in his best year. Leonard Fournette had 1,953, so that's more. But Tony Dorsett had played one less game. Leonard Fournette had 22 touchdowns. Tony Dorsett had 21, again, in one less game. So, in a different era. So he's not better than what Tony Dorsett was. Tight end would be the other one. But quarterback receiver, LSU's in the conversation.
Yeah, it's tough with quarterback because it's tough to gauge somebody's like NFL career that's not over yet versus somebody who had one of the most historic. That's tough.
You could go Notre Dame when you're comparing the NFL and college, because with the NFL and college, you've got Joe Montana, who I'm taking over Marino. The problem is I think Marino is a way better college player. That's the problem. Now, yes, Elway won a champion, or Montana won a championship, but I mean, even in the year that Joe Montana won a championship, they didn't exactly like build the offense around him. Now, that's not his fault. There's a lot of talk about how the coach didn't like him or whatever the case may be, but Joe Montana was a full-time starter for only one season, and he didn't even start the year in 1977 as the starter. They won the national championship. The most touchdowns he threw in a game in a season was 11. So you can't compare him in college. In the NFL, he's a better winner, but Marino finished his career as the all-time leading passer in the NFL.
Yeah.
I mean, he was a heck of a player. Running back, I'll see your Tony Dorsett, if we're going to include NFL statistics. And Tony was a very good running back in the NFL. He was never as dominant as he was in college. I'll see him, and I'll raise you a Jerome Bettis.
Yeah.
Who was still pretty good in college, not as good as Tony Dorsett, but was to me a much better NFL player. Wide receiver, I'll see your Larry Fitzgerald, and I'll raise you a Heisman Trophy winner, and one of the greatest receivers ever played in the NFL, like Larry Fitzgerald was. Again, Tony Dorsett was a heck of a player in the NFL. I think that Jerome was better. And then tight end, I mean, Dick was great, but Ken McAfee, you've got Dave Casper, you've got Mark Bavaro. You've got some guys that were great NFL players as well. So I think you could make a case for. So let me actually look some up. Go ahead. What you're going to say, Travis?
If Oklahoma State had a better quarterback, they'd be a fun little wrinkle in this conversation too. They had Barry Sanders. They had one of Justin Blackman, Des Bryant. Tight end, I did some looking, and it's not – their best tight end is probably Brandon Pettigrew. He went in the first round in 2009, but he's not Mike Ditka. So,
and receiver, they're in there as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like you said. Quarterback,
Your best one's like Brandon Whedon.
Probably.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, Mike Gundy was a winner back in the day because he was handing off to Thurman and Barry Sanders, with all due respect. I think he'd probably tell you that. So I think Notre Dame could hang there, but that's a fun one.
Yeah.
It's a fun one. Miami, I just don't think their college quarterbacks were as good. And Jim Kelly was a very good NFL quarterback. I don't think he was better than Dan Marino. I think Dan Marino was a better quarterback in the NFL and in college than Jim Kelly. And you could say, well, he got drafted higher. Yeah, and Mitch Trubisky got drafted higher than Patrick Mahomes and Deshaun Watson too. So, how far do you want to take that one?
Yeah.
Great submission, though. But to your point, Trev, that's a fun offseason submission.
That was really fun. Buy, sell, hold again from BJamin41. Jack Kaiser will have a more impactful rookie year in the NFL than Madden Faramo's rookie season at Notre Dame.
I'm going to have to hold this because I don't know a thing about the Jaguars linebacker depth chart. I have no idea. No idea. So I'm going to have to hold on this one. I'm sorry, BJamin. It's a fair question. I just don't. Since I don't follow, neither of us are really super into the NFL, so I couldn't tell you who Jacksonville has a linebacker.
Well, as of right now, Jack Kaiser on the official depth chart is second string behind Devin Lloyd. Okay. So, but I mean, big picture, I think they're both going to be used predominantly on special teams. So I think at best, I think you call it a wash.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
That's fair. I mean, you could buy that too and just say that Madden's just going to struggle to get on the field because how deep they are. But
yeah,
I don't know. I don't have a point of reference to compare it to. I could look at a depth chart online like Trev did, which is smart, but I don't know what the situations are for those guys.
Yeah, I don't know how good Devin Lloyd is. I don't know how much of a stronghold he has on that.
Well,
based on their season last year, I don't really think anybody's job is that secure for the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Right. Right.
Madden Faramo, Bryce Young, and Kingston Viliama-Asa will all make an All-American team while at Notre Dame.
I'll buy that as a possibility. Yeah. Now, here's the question. If you had to rank them in most likely options, I'd go Kingston 1, Bryce Young 2, Madden Faramo 3.
Yeah.
But I think they're all capable of being that. Yeah.
Yeah. With this being over the course of their career, yeah, this is a buy. It's a buy, and I agree with that order for sure. And another one from BJamin41. Notre Dame's blue and gold home uniforms are the best home uniforms in all of football, college or pro.
That's a buy for me, but I'm also biased because my one-time favorite NFL team doesn't even use my favorite uniform of theirs anymore, except for throwback games. But I will say this. That's still a thing of beauty when I watch when the Broncos use their throwbacks to their 1980s, 90s throwback unis. Those are sweet.
Yeah, those are
that
dope.
Baby blue with the bright orange. Those are freaking sweet. But no, Notre Dame is still, yeah. But I mean, of course, we're biased. A Georgia fan's going to tell you theirs are. An Ohio State fan's going to tell you theirs are. But yeah, I'm definitely biased. They're certainly, I think, the most recognizable.
That's what I was going to say. I buy that they're the most iconic. They're 100% in the discussion for the best.
Yeah.
But I feel like I could show just a Notre Dame uniform to a stranger on the street. In Nevada. Mm-hmm. And I think that they would know what that is.
Yeah. Agree. Did we get to we got the second one.
From Able 1, Notre Dame will win its next national championship before. And do you want to buy, sell, hold each one of these?
This is going to be you tell me, Trev. He didn't really say we could buy one, sell one, hold one, or we could just buy, sell, hold each one. Let's do buy, sell, hold each one.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too.
Let's do that. So you say one, and then we'll buy, sell, hold it. Go to the second one, do it, and then go third one.
Love it. So buy, sell, hold. USC makes its first college football playoff.
I buy that because I don't think USC is going to be a playoff team the next 2 years, and I think Notre Dame wins a championship the next 2 years.
Yep. And then Notre Dame will win its next national championship before USC wins its first Big Ten championship.
Buy that for the same reason I just said before.
And then bring it all home, LSU breaks its week 1 losing streak.
This one I'm going to sell, Trev, because I could see LSU because it comes so much sooner.
Yeah.
And look, I have Clemson winning that game, but I don't think it's out of question to think LSU can win it. But I also think that next year they play at Clemson on September 5th next year. I have a very sneaking suspicion that they're going to schedule a week 0 game before that against Southwestern Louisiana, South Central Louisiana. Was it Southwestern Central Louisiana University, right? Isn't that what was it?
Oh, from Waterboy?
Yeah.
The SCLSU Mud Dogs?
Yeah. Bobby Boucher College. What was it called? It was South Central Louisiana State University. Okay. So they're going to schedule them in week 1. And so if Notre Dame doesn't win it this year, then I think LSU breaks the streak next year before Notre Dame wins their title next season, kind of thing. So that one I'll sell, because I don't know that this is the year that Notre Dame wins the title, just as much as I think just over the next couple of years, I think they win one, if that makes sense.
Yep. Yeah, I'm with you. And if I had to rank them, if we did it just buy, sell, hold overall, I would go buy them winning the Big Ten championship, hold the college football playoff, and then sell LSU.
That's fair.
Because I think USC would have a better chance at making the playoffs as an at-large bid before they win the Big Ten. I think where things stand right now.
Because you could finish 4th in the Big Ten and make the playoff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And
Super chat.
There's some guy that runs that league that wants to guarantee that the 4th best team in that stupid league gets a playoff berth.
Yeah. Yeah.
Clown show.
I mean, shoot, USC, according to him, could lose 4 games, and that should be enough.
Yeah.
Allegedly.
5-4 in the league, and you've dropped Notre Dame from your regular season, and there you go. Clown show.
Beef Eater, ND08 with the super chat. Appreciate the super chat. Buy, sell, hold. The 1970s NFL tearaway jerseys overall sell. Oh, he's overall selling it, but is buying from a comedy perspective.
Yeah, dude. The 1970s tearaway jerseys were terrible. They were practice uniforms that they wore in games. So, yeah. I actually don't even think it was a buy from a comedy stamp perspective. I think it was a buy from a creating really cool NFL film clips. There's nothing more like, oh my gosh, that is scary. Like watching them, they're ripping Earl Campbell's jersey off and still can't bring that dude down. Like it made for some great, as a kid, NFL film highlights, those tearaways. So yes, I'll buy it from that standpoint. I don't know about the comedy part, but yeah, I'll sell them overall. They were pretty terrible. Pretty freaking terrible.
Lucky Duck 512. Preston Zinner will be a major pass rush factor early in the year with Patello hurt and Traore working his way back to full form.
I'm going to give my answer real quick because I'm curious to hear yours, Trev, because that was the one biggest surprise that I thought of your top 50 that you're doing. That was my biggest surprise that you had Preston in there. I'm going to sell that because I don't think it'll be a major pass rush factor. I think it can be utilized, but when you've got Kingston and Jalen Sneed, I still think he needs to pass up those guys, and it's going to be more of a third down role. I don't know that it's going to be like a base defense role. So I'm going to sell that, but I wouldn't be opposed to it. I would love to see Preston Zinner get a chance to do something.
Yeah, I'm going to buy it. I might be reading a little bit too much into what we saw in the blue gold game. It could have been just from overall lack of personnel that they had on the team, but I think he flashed in the opportunity that he was given. And I do think that they're trying to push for Jalen Sneed to be more of a 3-down linebacker this year. I don't know what that looks like for him on third down. I don't know if he returns to that little niche role that he had the last couple years on third down. I don't know if they keep that with Kingston. I don't know if it gets handed off to Preston Zinner, but I'll buy it because I have him, one, in my top 50 impactful players for this season, and two, I think that is, if there is going to be a niche skill set for Preston Zinner this year, I think that's where it is. I don't think it's going to be like in coverage or anything. Buy, sell, hold. Over the next 5 years, Notre Dame tight ends will have at least 2 consensus All-Americans and 1 Mackey Award finalist.
Next 5 years, so that's 25, 26. Yeah, I'll buy that. Between Eli Rarian could do both of those this year. He could be the first. Then you've got James Flanagan and then Ian Premer coming in. Yeah, I'll buy that. It's possible. That's an impressive statistic. That's not an easy thing to accomplish because you can make a case that I'll buy it. I'll buy it.
Yeah, I'm with that. Buy, sell, hold. The 2027 class will have more commits before the start of the season than 2026 did last year.
How many? Let me go back 2026. Let me go here real quick. I have a document that has the commitments by commit date, but I don't know if it's on this computer or if it's on my laptop, which is upstairs. So let me just see here real quick if I have that. Notre Dame commits. Is it in my recruiting folder? I'd have to go look that up to see that. Nope, that ain't it. I don't know, man. I'll buy it. That's sure. I'll buy it. I'm trying to think of how many guys they had committed last year, but I think this class, especially if they get Teddy Gerard tomorrow, I think they could fill up. And I think before the start of the season, I think he's referring to the start of their senior season, or is he talking about before this upcoming season?
I think he's talking about this.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I think he's talking about like the start of Notre Dame's 2025 season.
Oh, if that's the case, then I'm selling it because I'm pretty sure I'm pulling this up real quick. So I know they had Noah Grubbs committed before last year.
Dylan Faison
Dylan Faison committed before last year. Let me go here. They had Faison, Noah Grubbs. They only had two. I could have swore it was more than that. But yeah, they only had two. So I'll buy that. They'll have more than they've got two already.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'll buy that.
Yeah, I'll buy that.
I was thinking like before their senior year. And I'm like, yeah, but that doesn't make any sense. Or before their junior year, excuse me.
I get what you mean.
Which is kind of senior year, because they're going into their junior year now. So no, I buy that.
Yep.
I had to talk myself around into what that question was asking. But then I figured it out, and I'll buy.
No, I got you. Buy, sell, hold from Lucky Duck. Boston College is the most annoying Notre Dame rival. Not as hated as USC or Michigan, but not respected like Navy.
Sell. The most annoying Notre Dame rival's Purdue. Because like their fans talk like they've won a bunch of those games. And it's like in my lifetime, outside of the couple years with like Kyle Orton and Drew Brees when Notre Dame sucked, Purdue hasn't like done anything against Notre Dame. So sell. I think they're more BC. Look, BC, you can say whatever you want about how annoying they are, but they also kept Notre Dame from winning a national title. I can't say that about Purdue.
That's true.
So yeah, I'll sell that.
I'm with you. It's probably Purdue. Yeah. Especially during my time of watching Notre Dame football as well.
Beefeater said, BC hate is mostly one direction. They have the same number of big wins against us as Northern Illinois. I strongly disagree with that. I mean, they beat Notre Dame in 1993, and I believe they also gave Notre Dame their first big loss in 2002. Correct? Isn't that the first team to beat Notre Dame in 2002? Yes, Boston College beat number 4 Notre Dame in 2002. Pat Dillingham at quarterback. Week after they beat Florida State on the road, they went home and lost to Boston College. So yeah, playing Boston College the week after playing Florida State is a terrible, terrible idea for Notre Dame. If Marcus Freeman, if Pete Bavacqua ever puts BC on the schedule the week after they play Florida State, he should be immediately fired and escorted from the premises and have his degree revoked. Yeah. So, no, I mean, that's 2 right there. So that's more than what Purdue has done against a good Notre Dame. Again, that's the number 4 ranked Notre Dame team and the number 1 ranked Notre Dame team. So in my lifetime, BC has beaten 2 top 5 Notre Dame teams.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So, no, I wouldn't call them the most annoying. Plus, I don't know that I've ever even engaged with a BC fan to even think that they're annoying, where Purdue I have.
Yep.
So he wants us to buy one, sell one, hold one on this.
Okay.
On this first one.
So each one of these are individual. Okay, I get what you're saying. Okay, so Love runs for more than 1,000 yards, receives more than 500 yards, and scores more than 15 touchdowns. Or training camp
No.
starts.
It's. I'm sorry. The first one he wants us to buy us a hold one. Then the next question is just normal. The next one is just normal.
Oh, I got you.
So the first one he wants us to buy, sell, hold each one. So I'm buying that Love rushes for 1,000 yards. I'm going to sell that he has 500 receiving yards, but I do not sell that with conviction at all because I could see him doing that. And then I'm going to buy that he has more than 15 touchdowns because he did that last year. I'm actually going to pull the question up now just to make sure that I interpreted that correctly, but I think that is, if I remember from the question, I believe that's how
you're correct.
He asked the question.
You are correct. I'm looking at it. Buy, sell, hold for each. So, okay.
Yeah.
Well, then buy, sell, hold training camp starts and ends with the healthiest football in the last decade.
I'm going to hope by that one. I mean, they're due with how – I mean, we got the first day of camp last year. It was like 3 new ACL injuries from the summer. And it was like, yeah, okay, that sucks. So I'm going to hope by that one. Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. They're due. That is for sure. And then another buy, sell, hold from D. McAnally, and I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly.
I would assume it's McAnally, but that works for me too.
A Notre Dame football player finishes in the top 3 for the Heisman.
You know what? I'm in a good mood today, Trev. I'm going to buy that.
Love it.
I could see that. And it doesn't – love it. Pun intended. Well played, friend. Well played. I could also see it being somebody else. But, yeah, I'll go with Jeremiah Love for now. But I'll buy that.
Yep.
I'll buy that. I'm watching film from I'm going through breaking the season down. And I'm like, this dude is going for 6.9 yards a carry with no passing game to speak of and a very inconsistent offensive line. What is he going to do? Like, I'm watching plays like the A&M game. He should have 2 receiving touchdowns in that game.
Yep.
Like, both on slot fades. One should have been a long one. The other one was a red zone one. And I'm just like, dude, like, man, like this guy could have been even more dynamic than we even thought he was. So yeah, I could see that, rushing for 1,200 yards, 500-600 yards receiving, 20 touchdowns. I could certainly see that from him.
Yeah.
I'm not predicting it, but I'm saying I could see it. And then I also think it's a year where I don't know that there's going to be a lot of no-brainer Heisman quarterbacks this year. So yeah, I could see that.
Mm-hmm. Buy, sell, hold. A Notre Dame player wins the Thorpe Award.
Sell. They'll either give it to somebody who has no business winning it, or they'll give it to Caleb Downs, who right now I would say is the best defensive back coming back in college football.
Yeah.
Leonard Moore, I'd say, is number 2.
I'm gonna buy it to stick in line with what my bold prediction was. I think Leonard
got to be
Moore's
consistent.
So I'm gonna buy it.
Got to be consistent.
I'm gonna buy it. The 2027 class will have at least one more commit prior to the start of training camp. Buy, sell, hold.
Buy.
Notre Dame will take a transfer portal kicker or punter in 2027, and that kicker will be related to Vince D'Addario.
Sell. That'd be awesome if true, but that's a sell. Yeah.
All righty, and now we're buying one, holding one, and selling one.
Yeah, so it's like big plays.
Dexter Williams, 2018 45-yard touchdown against Stanford on his first touch after suspension. Christian Gray's 2024 98-yard pick 6 against USC. And Stephon Tuitt's 2012 77-yard fumble return for a touchdown against Navy.
So if I have to buy one, I'm going with Christian Gray's touchdown because of the moment in the game.
Yep.
You're up by a touchdown. They're driving. It's not a given that you're going to make the playoffs if you lose. I think how things shook out, they probably still make the playoff, but they're definitely not hosting. They're on the road somewhere. If they lose that game, that was a huge moment, and they had been picking him on him all game, which was part of his equation or question, but I couldn't fit it all into the card. But he was like, after getting picked on all game, I'm buying that one. And the next one I'm holding. Well, which one are you buying, Trevor?
Christian Gray's.
Okay. I'm holding the Dexter Williams one because that was a pretty sweet moment too. Because like you're waiting on Dexter to get back. He'd been suspended, but they didn't say he was suspended. It was just this whole annoying thing. And he comes back and on carry numero uno just houses it against.
Yeah.
And it was I think it was like wasn't it like number 6 versus number 7? Now Stanford ended up not being like great that year, but I believe
it was a top 10 matchup.
Yeah, I that's what I thought. I thought Stanford box score for Notre Dame
been
against
8th.
2018. It was Notre Dame was ranked 8th and Stanford was 7th. So it was 8-7 matchup. And he takes it to the house on the first carry. And you're like, okay, this is going to be fun. And he goes for 161 yards in his first game back. So it's like, yep, this team's going to be a problem.
Yeah.
This team's going to be a problem moving forward. Because if you remember at the time, Notre Dame wasn't exactly like lighting the world on fire up to that point in time. They had a great win over Michigan, but it was a hard-fought, ugly game. They had a terrible game against Ball State, a terrible game against Vanderbilt. They blew out Wake Forest, but we all kind of knew that Wake Forest sucked that year, which is funny about that game is that's the first time I saw Sam Hartman play in person.
Mm-hmm.
Was that game in 2008. But, like, they weren't any good. They had just lost to Boston College the week before and barely beat Tulane in overtime. They stunk. And you get this good Stanford team coming in. They had dominated Notre Dame up to that point in time. I mean, so 19 they beat Notre Dame, 20 they beat, or 09 they beat Notre Dame, 10 they beat Notre Dame, 11 they beat Notre Dame. Notre Dame beat them in 12. They beat Notre Dame in 13. Notre Dame beat them in 14. They beat Notre Dame in 15. They beat Notre Dame in 16. They beat Notre Dame in 17. Like, they had been dominating Stanford or Notre Dame up to that point in time. And so you go into that game and you're like, okay, how's this going to go? You know, and just what a heck of a game that was. And Notre Dame just, I mean, really dominated that game. It really did. Jerry Tillery, that was the game. He had a bunch of sacks in that game. And it was, you know, first quarter, that gives them a 7-0 lead. Bryce Young responds with a touchdown. But, like, you just kind of felt like when he ripped that one off, like, okay, they're going to be all right. And then I'm selling this to it touchdown return. That was a heck of a moment. That was an awesome moment. But, like, it was if I remember correctly, it was already a blowout at that point in time. And they won that game 50-10. And Tuitt's touchdown came it was actually the third touchdown. So it made it it was the one that made it 27-10. So let me see here. So Notre Dame's first touchdown was a Theo Riddick touchdown. Notre Dame's second score was a rushing touchdown. It was George Atkinson going for 56 yards. Their third touchdown was a Everett Golson pass to Tyler Eifert, and then Navy scored and fumbled, and Notre Dame recovered it. Then Notre Dame threw a pick. Let's see, fumble touchdown. Yeah, it was 20-0 when Stephon returned that back, and they were dominating Navy at that point in time. So it wasn't as big of a moment, but it was still a very cool play.
Would your answer be different if the 2012 play was Sierra Woods' long touchdown against Oklahoma on the road?
No, I still think the play that I remember most in that game was the post route that he threw to Chris Brown after Oklahoma just tied it. But, yeah, I think that big play against the Sierra Wood was kind of that, hey, y'all, Notre Dame ain't playing around like with this Oklahoma team. Because remember coming that game, I only remembered as a fan, so maybe it was a little bit different. But I just remember a lot of people thinking Notre Dame didn't have a shot to win that football game.
Mm-mm.
And, you know, they went down and obviously they had that long first drive, and then Oklahoma takes a 3-0 lead, and then Sierra Wood on the second play of the drive goes for 62, and you're like, okay, all right, this is going to be an interesting game. But I still felt like the big play of that game was the play action post route to Chris Brown after they had just tied the game up.
Yeah. No, I'm with you. I'm the same order. The Dexter Williams one was big. That was the first top 10 matchup between Notre Dame and Stanford since like 2015 when they were both top 10, and Notre Dame lost on. I cannot believe they lost that game in 2015. Took a lead with less than a minute.
I was at that game.
Ugh.
It was depressing. I mean, you run for almost 300 yards. You know, you just dominate them in so many areas. Will Fuller with the bomb, and then, you know, Deshaun fumbles the ball going in on the end of the first half, and it just was like,
CJ Sanders had a kick return for a touchdown.
Yeah, because Stanford took that first drive right down the field. Kevin Hogan throws a touchdown pass, and then CJ just takes it right back and scores. Josh Adams had a monster game. Had that counter right broke it back, went for 6. That was one of the coolest plays I ever saw live because, Trevor, I'm telling you, I watched this play happen. So we're on the press box, and it's the Will Fuller long touchdown pass. And Will Fuller's running a go route in front of us up the left sideline. And when Deshaun Kaiser let loose that ball, Will Fuller was 2 yards he wasn't at the corner yet. The corner was further down the field than Will Fuller was. It's not a ball you're supposed to throw. But Deshaun knew that I'm going to throw this thing as far as I can, and by the time Will catches it, he's going to run past Terrence Alexander. And that's exactly what happened. So, the guy was further along than Will was because he was playing off coverage, and Will, as the ball's in the air, goes from behind the guy to in front of the guy by several yards and catches it for a touchdown. And it was just the wildest. That's wild. That's just, I know that you can't cover my guy because he's not open, and I'm just throwing a bomb. It wasn't a back shoulder. I'm just launching this sucker as far as I can, and Will Fuller's going to run underneath it, and that's exactly what happened.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Yep. The cool thing is I was at 2 of those 3 games, or the Stanford games that we've talked about. So, I was at that 18 game. I was at the 15 game. I was not at the 2012 game. I was only at one of these 3 games. I was not at the Navy game. I was coaching that year. I wasn't at Oklahoma. Still the biggest regret I have. I'm glad I did it because I got coaching out of my system, but it's looking back, it's man, I missed out on Ireland. I missed out on freaking Oklahoma. I missed out on the national title game. And then I missed the title game this year because I got as sick as I've been in a decade before the game this week.
Yeah.
This year. So.
Yeah.
My wife was there, though. She likes to rub that in my face.
Buy, sell, hold from Brother Thomas. Notre Dame with C.J. Carr will win a national championship before Michigan does with Bryce Underwood.
Buy. Definitely buy.
Yeah, for sure. Domer Grizz, you have a piece of sports memorabilia that you never would sell.
I mean, do you count my college helmet as a piece of sports memorabilia that I'd never sell? Then sure.
Yeah.
I don't have a baseball or a signed glove or a signed jersey or anything like that I would never sell. But yeah, my own helmet I would never sell.
My cousin, his construction company did work on the Campus Crossroads project at Notre Dame.
Oh, so nice.
I have a section of their bleachers just sitting right here in front of me.
That's freaking great.
Never getting rid of it.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
that's cool. Awesome.
I got to find a place to hang it up, but yeah, it's awesome. And buy, sell, hold. The 2-yard touchdown run against Penn State was Love's best play of the year.
When you consider the magnitude and the degree of difficulty, I would say that that's accurate. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was more about just heart than it was talent. There were runs that were more impressive from he showed off his skills on this play. That play was just about, I want this more than you. I mean, it's what it was. It was just all heart. There wasn't anything skill related there. Just balance, that's a skill, but that was just pure toughness and want to.
Mm-hmm.
Just pure toughness and want to. And then when you consider the magnitude of the moment, it ties the game up in the fourth quarter of the Orange Bowl, right? I mean, that's a big moment. No, did it give him the lead?
Yeah, I gave him
that one. Gave him the lead, 17-10. Yeah.
It's funny because after his 98-yarder against Indiana, I was like, I just don't think he gets better than that, and it somehow did. But
that wasn't even his best run of the year. That was the biggest run of the year, but it wasn't the best. He had a run against Navy. His long touchdown run against Navy, where basically there was a guy unblocked in the hole, and he made the guy miss, with his cut. And then there was another run, I think against Virginia, where he made one of the sickest reads you'll see. Because, what's interesting is the way that Dylan McCullough teaches inside zone, they're reading both levels. So he would make moves on the first level to set up guys in the second level, and it was really impressive. So there was it was the biggest run, Trev, but it wasn't, to me, the most impressive run.
Oh, no, not most impressive.
Yeah.
No, it's more the because he didn't make a single cut on the 98-yard touchdown run.
He just outran everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah. The most impressive part of that play was Anthony Knapp.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I mean, the best part about that play was what went into it. Hurt knee. He had the flu, rips off a 98-yard first touchdown to the college football playoffs. Like, that is what made it so impressive, not to your point, how it went down. But, man.
It was awesome. It was really
How cool is it that we have multiple plays, though?
Yes,
you know what
in
I
the
mean?
postseason.
Yeah.
Well, did we get both of those? Yeah.
Yep. Rocket is Heisman. Excuse me. This is a yard total, so you can combine multiple quarterbacks in one game. Which should you buy, sell, hold?
So he's just saying passing yards as a team.
Oh, okay. 300 yards passing in 6 total games, or is that 300 yards passing in 6 games?
I think he's saying there will be 6 games where they pass for at least 300 yards.
Okay, I got you. 275 yards passing in 7 total games, or 250 yards passing in 9 total games?
I think the most likely will be the 250 and 9. I mean, if you go 275 7 times, that gets you to 1925. Let me see here.
Yeah, 306 games get you to 1800.
Yeah, I think that's the most likely. At least 250 in 9 games, and then you'll have 2 or 3, maybe 4 300+ yard games. I don't think you'll get to 6. That's half the regular season games, and I guess I'm kind of looking at it regular season wise too. But if you're going to count playoffs, it's a little bit more likely. If you're going to go playoffs, I think I'd feel more comfortable also getting up to the 7 for 275. I don't know about 6 at 300. If they get 6 games or more of 300 passing yards this year, this team's going to be a lot of fun to watch.
Yeah. Since he put the caveat in there for 300 or for like multiple quarterbacks in a game, I'm gonna go. I'll buy the 250. I just think that's just going to be the most consistent. And if you include the playoffs, I think that's what they're going to do. If Notre Dame's ripping off 300-yard passing games like in the playoffs as well, if you count that too, that'll be a fun offense to watch in the postseason.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'd buy 250. I would hold 275, and then I would sell 300. But the 306 games isn't too far off, because it could be a scenario where, like, let's say the starter goes in and throws for 220 and the backup comes in and throws for 80 to get your 300. I mean, that's not
yeah,
out of the realm.
Yeah. So I'm buying 250, holding 275, selling 300. How about you?
Yep. I'm the same order.
I just can't get to 6 when we are looking at an offense that never even got to 270 last year. Now, I expect them to be better throwing the ball, but that's a big jump. They didn't get to 275 one time last year.
Wow.
Yeah. Yep.
Rocket is Heisman. Buy 1, sell 1, hold 1. Traore, 10 sacks. Kingston Viliama-Asa, 12 tackles for a loss. Or Leonard Moore with 6 picks. Ooh.
I'm going to sell Leonard Moore getting 6 picks. That's a kind of an easy one because I just don't think he's going to get thrown at enough.
Yeah.
I'm going to buy Kingston with 12 tackles for loss. I'm going to hold Traore with 10 sacks. But I could see either one of those things happening.
Same order.
All right. So I had to alter this one because he had Todd Light and Tom Carter. And Todd Light and Tom Carter never played together. So I didn't know if I was supposed to go with Tom Carter and Greg Lane or Todd Light and Stance Magala. So I went with Todd Light and Stance Magala.
Good deal. Better cornerback duo. Are we buying 1, selling 1, holding 1 each?
Mm-hmm.
I would assume. Shane Walton and Vontez Duff, Todd Light and Stance Magala, or Benjamin Morrison and Cam Hart?
I'm selling the Shane Walton Vontez Duff one. That was a very good corner combo, but it wasn't as good as the other two. I'm struggling, and I should have corrected the spelling for Todd Light. I apologize. I'm struggling with those two because I think Cam Hart and Benjamin Morrison were both better than Stance Magala. He's very good. He had a pick 6 in the win over number 2 USC on the game that clinched the playoff or the national championship game. But Todd Light was unbelievable that season. I mean, he was incredible. He was an All-American that season. But yeah, I'm torn on that. I'm actually gonna buy the Benjamin Morrison Cam Hart one, because as good as Todd Light was, I just think the gap between, like, Todd Light was phenomenal, but Todd Light's best season as a corner, in my opinion, was actually 1989. And so, yeah, he was great in 1992 and 1990 as well. But yeah, I'm gonna go with Morrison and Cam Hart. I was talking to somebody about this last night. I don't think people realize how good Cam Hart was in 2023.
Yeah.
He was special in 2023. He was unbelievably good in 2023. Even like in the games they played bad, they weren't beating Cam Hart. I mean, heck, the Louisville game, the only play he was really around the ball, he knocks it out at the beginning of the second half. You're down or you're tied at halftime, and he knocks the ball out in Louisville territory, and you just got a chance to go punch one in, and they couldn't do it. And that was the play where Chris Tyree drops the ball, the slot fade.
Yeah.
It's not a great ball, but you got to catch that one, man. You know, ball had to be better, catch had to be better. Just was typical of that game. Just not getting it done. But yeah, I'm going to go with that one.
I'm with you. Yeah, I'm with you. Buy, sell, hold from Law Dog. Notre Dame's defense holds Miami under 17 points.
I'm going to sell that. I think Notre Dame's going to win the game, but I don't know that they're going to hold them under 17. I'm going to sell that.
Yeah, I think I'm going to sell that too.
If they hold Miami at 20 points, that's a heck of a performance for the team that was number one in the country in scoring last year.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm going to sell that as well. New defense. I have questions about Miami's offense, but Notre Dame's under a new defensive coordinator, and again, a lot of the questions that we have about that side of the ball are just going to remain to be seen until we see it on August 31st. Yep. I just don't know enough about the unit yet to confidently say they're going to do what the Al Golden defense, and I don't even know if Al Golden's defense would have held that Miami team last year to under 17 points. I mean, completely different outlooking offense this year, but still. Freeman will not allow the defense to backslide even while Ash has them playing more zone.
I mean, I think he's going to try. He's going to try to do that. I don't know that he'll be successful. I'll buy it because I don't. Yeah, I'll buy it because I don't think he'll allow things to get to the point he'll step in. Yeah, I'll buy that.
Yeah, I'll buy that as well. I mean, it goes back to what we've been talking about a lot. It's like, look, there's more than one ways to have a successful defense. And the zone conversation has been very interesting so far this offseason. And I won't rehash all of it, but Al Golden has his style, but running man with your corners is not the only way to have a good defense.
You could be wrong in how you use those corners, but I just, like he said, though, I don't think Marcus Freeman would allow them to go to that point. You're just going to play cover 3 all day with those corners. That'd be ridiculous. I just don't think Marcus Freeman would allow, and I don't think he would have brought him in if that was his plan. Just don't.
Buy, sell, hold. Miami's defense will give up at least 3 offensive touchdowns to Notre Dame.
Buy. Yeah, I'll buy that one.
Detective Marty Hart. Micah Gilbert takes on the role Jaden Thomas ended up playing the majority of the 23 and 24 season, i.e. highly involved in run schemes, goal line game plan, and grittier receiver play.
I'm going to sell that because I think part of the reason that he needed to take on that role is because they didn't have someone that could do those things, and that's why you went out and got Malachi Fields. Plus, Jaden Thomas was a pretty established player, and that's why you felt that's another reason that he was able to earn that role also. I'll sell that. I think a lot of that's going to go to Malachi Fields.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm selling it as well. Jaden Thomas had that role because he was trusted. I'm not saying that Micah Gilbert isn't trusted yet. He's just an unknown commodity in this offense. I don't know if on a third down in the semifinals they're handing him an end around to pick up a first down. Mm-hmm. I don't know if they do that with Micah Gilbert. But you know what you're getting from Jaden Thomas. I'm with you. I'm selling as well. Eye on the ball. I cannot get this nagging image of CJ Carr being a JJ McCarthy clone. Buy, sell, hold, and tell me why at each level.
It's a very hard sell. They're just very different players. I mean, JJ was always about raw tools, big arm, really athletic, but he was not really advanced in a lot of the technical parts of the game. CJ is very advanced in the mental and technical parts of the game. I mean, I look at JJ McCarthy, and he was a guy that you just said, "Hey, man, we're just going, don't get us beat." And you're going to have to make a couple plays a game. But if you look at a lot of the games where he made big plays, Ohio State in that'd be the 22 season where they beat Ohio State. He went I think he was sub 50% completions, but he hit like a couple big plays off play action. Had some big runs in that game. The Alabama game, he used his legs to do a lot of things. I just don't think if Notre Dame wins a game like that, it'll be more from CJ hitting the big plays down the field with his arm. It'll be about him, throwing on the run. It'll be about him, making great decisions, fitting that ball in over top on a back shoulder, something like. It'll be him doing more things with his mind and his arm. Where for JJ it was more playmaking. I just think they're stylistically very different. Very different.
Yeah. I also think CJ is a better processor of the game in college than what
Agreed.
JJ McCarthy was. Like, not to take away from McCarthy, it's just Jim Harbaugh knew, based on the makeup of their offense, you're not going to ask him to be hitting backside digs, and it was very, kind of one read and dump off type of offense.
And it worked for that team.
It did. Yeah. Buy, sell, hold from Darvis. Notre Dame lands a surprise recruit before signing day.
I'm going to sell for now. So let's see how things play out with Elijah Golden. If they get him, then I could see them kind of being done. And if not, I could see them then looking for some guys and flipping somebody. So for now, I'll say sell, but things could change down the road.
Everyone currently committed remains committed despite other schools using negative recruiting and monetary offers.
I mean, I'll hope by it, but this is still the same process we've always been. Some kids just up and decide. So I'll hope by it, but I wouldn't feel great about that. I mean, I think there's a chance. They got 26 kids committed right now. There's a chance somebody's going to flip. So, but I'll hope by it for now.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm with you. Buy, sell, hold from Jake 8589. A considerable portion of the national media's negative commentary around Notre Dame football is the result of fear, meaning a fear of this independent becoming an absolute beast under Marcus Freeman for years to come. Saying this because I recently heard of a comment that Nick Saban said. I don't recall when, but the comment was, if Notre Dame could find a coach that could really recruit, watch out to all of college football.
I'm going to look up this because I've heard people say, let me just, if they could find a coach who can recruit. Like, did he actually say that? Like, I don't know that he actually. I've heard people say that, but I don't know that he's. I don't know that he ever said that. So, yeah.
Yeah, I can't find.
People have to tell me when he said it, but I don't remember. I know people said he said it, but I believe that he said it. That some of you say that. I just have never seen it. I've never been able to find it. So if you can tell me like when he did it, then I can look it up. But I've told you guys this before. I've told you this since I've started covering Notre Dame and started talking to people. There is absolute fear of Notre Dame becoming dominant again. Mm-hmm. And I think that fear has only amplified now that we're in this NIL. People said it was this year on like doing College Game Day, which, okay, then that's fair. I didn't watch it. So he said it this year as an analyst. Okay, totally fair. But I think that sentiment's always been there. If the school that can offer these kids degrees that we can't, if these schools can offer that, the school that can offer a national TV contract that nobody else has, and all these unique things about it, can all of a sudden start dominating on the field and putting guys in the NFL, we're in trouble. Mm-hmm. And now that Notre Dame can pay NIL money, if you think Notre Dame's doing well now with NIL money, imagine what Notre Dame will look like as far as getting money from donors and stuff if they win a natty. Like it's going to get crazy. And I think there's always been that fear because you can't negatively recruit Notre Dame. If Notre Dame goes out this year and wins the national championship, the only negative recruiting you can do is it's cold, the girls aren't hot, which that's always been some lame thing that people say, which is so petty and childish. And, dude, I don't know if you can play there. They're too deep. You won't be able to crack the too deep there. That's the only thing they've been able to effectively use against Notre Dame this year with any recruits. That's the only negative that I've seen work. Dude, you're not going to play there. Yeah.
Yeah, and unfortunately for Southern schools, it's hard to use the cold argument considering the last two national champions were in Ohio and Michigan. Yeah. So that one's rough.
Yeah. Yeah. But that's, I mean, I've heard the weather's bad, the girls aren't hot my whole life from people saying to recruits, which I still can't imagine a grown man telling a teenager that other teenage girls at the school are not hot.
Yeah, that's weird.
Like, dude, you've got some issues you need to work through.
Yeah, that's weird behavior.
Very.
Bisa hold from T-Shoup 11. The quarterback competition in fall camp will not change the decision of the coaching staff any more than spring practice and summer workouts has. Not saying a decision has been made or there wasn't a true competition. I'm saying one candidate has separated themselves and has made it clear to players and coaches alike.
So, do I think that CJ Carr enters fall camp as the leader in the clubhouse? Yes. Whether Kenny Minchie takes the first rep with the first team in fall camp or not, I do believe that CJ Carr enters fall camp as the leader in the clubhouse. Do I think that he has separated himself and made it clear to coaches and players alike to the degree where there's nothing Kenny can do to beat him out? No, I don't believe that. If CJ Carr plays in the fall camp like he did in the spring, but Kenny Minchie goes astronomically better, can Kenny Minchie still win the job? Absolutely can. So, because I think you're saying, not that I'm saying this, but then you kind of are. So I do think it is the QB battle in fall camp absolutely will be what makes the decision. Meaning, if everything you said in the last part is true, that a decision has not been made, but right now a candidate has made it clear to the players and coaches alike. Let's say I granted that as being true. And I do think even more so coaches, definitely, but I still think there's some players that think Kenny's a better player. I hear that all the time because he can run around and all that. And I think the players are kind of thinking, give me the next Riley Leonard type of guy because that's what they know worked. But let's say all that's true. If Kenny goes and outplays CJ through all fall camp, then what they thought coming into fall camp will change. So that's why I'm selling.
I also sell because I think if this were the case, I think there would have been different, honest conversations that happened post-spring. I truly do. I think the transfer portal, the way that it shook out with Notre Dame's quarterback room would look different if somebody was clearly basically already the winner per this submission. So, yeah, I'm selling this one as well.
Again, I think he's talking about CJ here. I don't disagree with the comment. I think CJ is going to win the job. I think CJ is the leader in the clubhouse right now. I think CJ is going to prove himself to be the quarterback in fall camp. I do believe that. I don't have any problem with people assuming CJ is going to win the job. I have pushback, and this is not what Tristan's doing, but I have pushback against people that just assume it's over and there's nothing Kenny can do. And that's where I have a disagreement. Because even if you think CJ's that, I still want to see CJ Carr go into fall camp and win it. I still want to see CJ say, no, you're not the leader because of what you did in the spring. You're the leader because of what you're doing now. You're our guy because of what you're doing now. You're just taking your game to another level. That's what I want to see. I don't want to see he wins a job because Kenny didn't do something. I just want to see him win it because, dude, he just was out there doing his thing. But if CJ just kind of stagnates in fall camp and Kenny takes his game to the next level and is more consistent, absolutely he has a chance to go be that guy. Absolutely. I just think CJ is going to be too good to beat out. Tristan asked in the chat, he said, he goes, does Kenny have the skill and demeanor to play above his current level? And my answer is absolutely. There's a lot of things Kenny can do to improve. The problem, if you're looking at it from a Kenny standpoint, is so can CJ.
Yeah. Buy, sell, hold from Josh CSP77. Buy one, sell one, hold one. Cornerback duos. Christian Gray and Leonard Moore. Christian Gray and Ben Morrison, or Cam Hart and Ben Morrison.
I'm buying Cam Hart, Benjamin Morrison, because I've seen that for a full year, be dominant for a full year. I'm buying Gray. I'm holding Gray and Morrison because I think Christian Gray was better when he was in the lineup with him. And then I'm selling Gray and Moore because we did not see vintage Christian Gray at that point in time. And as good as Leonard Moore was last year, I don't think it's a given that he was better than what Benjamin Morrison was in 2023, or that he was even better than Cam Hart in 2023. I think he was an elite freshman, but Leonard Moore is going to have to still continue to develop and improve as a player. So that's where I'm going on that one. I've also seen more of Gray and Morrison at a high level. I saw more of Gray and Moore, no pun intended, because they played more together, but we didn't see Christian at his best after the hand injury. And the hand injury was when Ben was game 5, and Leonard Moore and Christian Gray didn't take over till game 7. That's my take, Trev. What's yours?
I'm having a tough time. I agree with everything that you said. I have a tough time balancing out the consistency of Christian Gray when he was with Leonard Moore, matched up with the electric playmaking that he also had when he was lined up with Leonard Moore. The interception, the 98-yard pick six, the game-ending interception against Penn State, that happened when he was lined up with Moore.
Yeah.
And the sample size with him and Morrison, we got to see for 4 games.
I would counter that with the 4th down pass breakup against A&M that sealed that game. So he was consistent. You were correct. Like, the interception was there and all that, but I would also say that he also had some pretty big moments. You think of that huge interception against Miami of Ohio, which may sound dumb, but when he picked that pass off, Miami was driving to take a lead, and they was about to get real hairy in that stadium with what happened 2 weeks before against a MAC team. But Christian had 4 of his 9 pass breakups last season he had in the first 4 games.
Yep.
He had 2 against A&M, 1 against Purdue, 1 against Miami of Ohio. And then he had, and I think the other breakup against Miami of Ohio should have been a pick.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where I come from on that one.
No, that's totally fair.
But he did make some big plays though. The Georgia game. I mean, the 4th and 2 against USC, the pick against USC, the pick against Penn State. But like you said, the consistency, and he still had those good moments against the first 4 games as well.
Yeah. I'll probably be the same order that you are. Switching gears now to the defensive line. Buy, sell, hold these looks like defensive end duos. Julian Okwara and Khalid Kareem, holy cow. Isaiah Foskey and Ade Ogundeji, and a healthy Jordan Botelho and Bryce Young.
I don't know that we ever really saw Isaiah Foskey and Ade Ogundeji playing together. Obviously, Isaiah played in 2020, but he was a rotation guy in 2020.
Yeah. And
when he took over in 2021 as the main guy, it was like Myron Tagovailoa, Riley Mills played some there. It was like other guys, Justin Ademiola. The best of that group is right now I'm going with Okwara and Khalid Kareem. That was a very good, even with Julian Okwara and all his inconsistency, and you just didn't know what you were going to get. That was still a very dynamic 1-2 punch.
Yeah.
For Notre Dame. It was, they were Khalid, and also Khalid was, and I've said this 1,000 times, in 2018, Khalid Kareem had 10.5 tackles for loss. Julian Okwara had 12.5 tackles for loss. He had 8 sacks. Khalid had 4.5 sacks. Khalid had 5 pass breakups. But Khalid was also an incredibly clutch football player.
Yeah.
I mean, I think of, you think of he was always good and late. Like, he had the big sack late against Michigan. He had a huge sack late against Pittsburgh to ice that game. He had the forced fumble late in the first half that Julian Love picked up and ran back for a touchdown against Virginia Tech that year in 2018. That was a huge play in that game. He was so clutch, and he was very good against the run. So I'm going with that group. We haven't really seen I'm holding the Botelho Bryce Young one because honestly, I would rather say a healthy Boubacar and Bryce Young would be a much more like that's a combination that I would consider like a one we haven't seen yet that I would say, ooh, that one would be hard to beat out. But I'm holding that one. Then I'm selling the other one because we just never saw those guys together. Now, if you wanted to say Dalen Hayes and Adetokunbo Ogundeji, that one I would take over Patelho and Bryce Young.
Yeah.
If you meant to say Dalen Hayes, because like there was overlap with all those guys, so I could see that. But we did see Adetokunbo Ogundeji and Dalen Hayes. I would hold that group. I'd sell Patelho and Bryce Young because Patelho had a nice start to the season last year, but that was just 3 games.
Yeah.
We yet to see him put it together for a full season.
Yep.
I would rather look at what is – and as good as Patelho was last year, Boubacar was better.
Yep.
So that one I would consider taking over Adi and Dalen Hayes if we're going to look at that duo. But neither of them – like there's a long way to go between what the DNs were last year to becoming like Julian Ekward, Khalid Kareem. Having said that, if any combination of defensive ends this year looks anything like what Julian, Khalid Kareem were in 2018, this is going to be a really fun defensive line to watch.
Yeah. Yeah, that is for sure. I'm with you completely on that list.
Yeah, and I believe that is our last submission. So actually Josh got that one in after we started the show, but I wanted to get that one in. I went back and looked at it and wanted to get that one in, and it was a good submission, so I knew we were going to end with that one. So, yeah, that's what we're going to end with, Trev. So why don't you go ahead and right around 3 hours. Did we get any super chats that I missed? No, we did not. So we're good. Appreciate that. Great show today. Great submissions today, guys.
Yeah.
Excellent work.
A lot of fun submissions. Not that we are surprised. You guys bring the heat every single week. Now, be sure to hop over to IB Nation Sports Beat. They go live with their midweek mailbag here, I believe, in the next 45 to 50 minutes. O'clock. And be sure to go check out and hang out with Sean and the guys. Brian and I believe Vince will be back tomorrow at 1 p.m. Yep. Now, all the more reason to have the notification bell hit. Be subscribed to this channel. Before you head out of here today, please be sure to hit that like button in whatever streaming platform you listen to us on. We would greatly appreciate a 5-star review. But as always, with the season approaching, we're cranking out more content. I got the top 50 impact players list going on. Brian's diving into a bunch of film breakdowns. He has one up on Sullivan Absher up on the boards right now. Be sure to hop over boards.irishbreakdown.com in the Champions Lounge to get all that premium content. I am stoked that we are now under 40 days to kick off this college football season. Notre Dame kicks off in 39 days. But until tomorrow, that's Brian. I'm Trevor. We'll see you back here very soon on the Irish Breakdown Podcast.